How about that boss at the end of Chapter 5, huh? Can't wait to talk about that boss and what happens right after that boss at the end of Chapter 5.
I am kind of banking on the fact that we're going to get really off course and talk about, I don't know, Snow's boots or something for like 30 minutes and then not make it to the boss because I'm more ready than ever, than anyone on this podcast, to discuss this boss and what happens after this boss. But, I have a feeling we might not make it there today.
The guide I was reading, as I was just kind of following on with some of the fights that were happening, and the guide I was reading was written in 2010, so like it was like pretty fresh for when the game came out. And there is a specific thing about the boss to which you are both referring that I thought was freaking hilarious in this person's guide that has nothing to do with Final Fantasy 13, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
Oh, now we have to get there. We're going to speed run through this. We're not going to talk about any of the fun dialogue we have with Snow.
I mean, if we don't get there, I'll just tell you guys about it after we cut recording. Everyone that's listening can just fuck off. They don't get to enjoy it.
Premium content only.
It's behind a paywall.
Whose voice is that on the podcast right now? Could it be Final Fantasy Relay 7's anchor victory winner, Muttski?
That would be me. Yeah, I obviously, as I've spoken to Alex a number of times in the last couple of weeks about wanting to come on to do this game for a number of reasons. And the relay prep, which you guys have kind of talked about the relay, the last couple episodes, you had Zwanzig on, who was actually on my team this year. Shout out to Zwanzig. We're bringing home that dub this year. Zwanzig took our team. He took our team in the Final Fantasy Relay from a huge deficit to quite a nice lead, and then I was the anchor, the last one, and I just got to kind of bring it home slow and steady, like the Tom Berry wins the race.
I can't believe that Zwanzig didn't have a lead on another runner running Final Fantasy.
I was gonna say,
and then was able to overcome them and go faster than
that
them.
Reminds me of when I ran against Zwanzig in the Final Fantasy Relay race, and I started out ahead and then was not by the end of it.
But anyway, yeah. So I've been wanting to come on and do this game. I don't know if either of you are unaware. Final Fantasy 13 is like one of the Final Fantasies I'm most passionate about. So I was really looking forward to this season. This is the first time that I've actually kept up with every episode as they've been releasing this time.
Nice.
But I've just been really busy. Like school started, so I was back at work, and so I had a lot of stuff going on. And then most of my video game time has been dedicated to the relay the last week and a half or 2 weeks. So I haven't really been able to do much else. But now that's over. I've and I had time to kind of catch back up and get into this. So I'm really excited.
Thank you for
to talk
returning.
About this game. No, thanks for having me.
Since last time you were on, I know you and Curtis have been podcasting behind our back.
Yeah,
that's true.
Curtis and I, we really hit it off, and when we were talking about FF10, and now we have our own little tryst on the side. Yeah, I'm the side bitch, everybody. It's cool.
Has all of VG Draft happened since you were a guest last?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
Really? Holy crap! It's been that long.
Well, I
guess we didn't have any guests on Dirge. So
here's the other thing I was thinking about too. Recently, is that the last time that I came on and did the 10 episode with you all, like. We knew each other, but I wouldn't be like we were friends. Whereas like now I feel like my relationship with each of you is considerably stronger, if that makes sense. Like I feel like I know all of you on a much more personal level now. And so
my introduction to you was before like, oh, I wonder if we can get this guy to let us use his version of like
Exactly. No, for real. Like I think that is amazing. Like the first time we ever spoke was because you're asking about the parody song, which I think is hilarious because for any of you that listened to that season, I was the one that wrote and did the vocals for the My Chemical Romance outro that they used. And Carl just saw My Chemical Romance like 2 or 3 days ago.
Oh, that's right.
I did. I don't know if you're on Instagram, but when they were playing that, I actually was like recording it, and I had a couple drinks, so I wasn't gonna like be good at using my phone too much, but I was recording it, and I didn't try tagging you, I don't think. I was just like, I can't remember if Muttski's on Instagram, so I'm just going to write Muttski on it. So I just have a video of them like, when I was, it just says Muttski. I think I also recorded
Carl
a video
just drunkenly singing, carry armor.
I do have a video of me singing that. I don't think I posted it anywhere. I was like, it probably sounds like shit. I'll have to
awesome.
Come back to this. I was going to say, when you were talking about the last time you were on and we weren't like super close, I was like, oh, let me just go and I need to go and grab my diary and rip out the page where I say today Muttski was a guest on the, and I feel like we're finally friends now. It's just like me being sad, being like, dang.
Yeah, you were on during towards the end of FF10.
Yeah, it was pretty close to the end.
When we were it was Hot Wings, so it was when we took down Sin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was like the final showdown with Shin.
The final showdown with Shin.
But speaking of Sid, we have a cutscene.
Oh my God! Speaking of Sid,
Yeah, holy shit.
And this is the Every FNF podcast. I know we're 10 minutes in, but you probably know that by now.
yeah, you don't get an introduction today. You don't deserve it.
But yeah, last we left off, Saz and Vanille were having a little camp out at the edge of the Vile Peaks, I assume, because it was looking a little less vile. But yeah, we get to catch up with Snow, and we get this beautiful cutscene. We see a ship, I guess, that he was taken on.
It's a really massive ship as well. It looks like it's probably some sort of like fleet ship, like a ship that
Carl,
contains other ships.
It is a Dreadnought class ship, the one Dreadnought class ship that the Guardian Corps has. And even though they only have the one and SciComm has many, it has extra armor on it, but not as good weaponry. Because I read all the data logs about it and was like, I will learn everything about the Lindblom.
We're not on the Lindblom yet.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right.
We're on what looks kind of similar to like the Fahrenheit in terms of like its design. It's like a very Star Fox looking ship, but more Final Fantasy 13 in that it's more, biological.
Oh, you're right. You know what? We don't even see it yet. I'm sorry, Carl. I take back everything I said.
Oh, that's quite all right.
My goodness.
And if you have subtitles on, you know that this woman who picked up Snow is named Fang.
Fanger.
That's weird. I thought she was called Wark from the previous episode that I listened to.
The game fucking spoils itself a lot of the time. I feel like it's very easy to just read something.
Yeah, it's really funny they don't actually introduce this character's name. It's just there in the subtitles that her name is Fang.
Yeah, it's like in Arrested Development when they have major plot points happen between episodes.
Yeah.
So recently, as most of you, I think probably all of you know, I am like the most recent release of one of my other favorite series, which is the Xenoblade Chronicles, just came out a month ago. It's been about a month exactly. For the launch trailer that they announced the game in, there are some characters that look familiar from past titles, but you can't really fully say if it is or is not them. But the YouTube subtitles has their freaking names in it, and people are like, "Oh my god!" And then less than a day later, they took it off. Like they completely
really.
Yeah. But
That's
it was like
amazing.
one of those things where it was like, man, we dropped the ball on that one. Like, it was pretty funny
because they just ripped it from whatever, like the video that they were cutting it from or whatever, and so it just spoils.
We're posting spoilers, and we're actually putting spoiler tags in our Discord for a game that's 15 years old at this point. So
well, here's the thing: is that it's a Nintendo game, which means it costs $60 the day it came out, and it's going to cost $60 in 7 years. So what are you waiting for?
You got to get it on the ground floor because it doesn't matter.
But
so we're on the
Snow's on whatever the smaller ship is.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of this ship.
Can we just call it the Fahrenheit, or can we call it the Celsius?
It looks kind of like the
Celsius.
Celsius.
Yeah, it's the Celsius, yeah.
No, well, there's already a Fahrenheit and a Celsius. We have to call this one the Kelvin.
Oh, okay.
Obviously.
Yeah, the
So-
Kelvin.
Which is
why
Kelvin
Kev
McAllister.
is the
Kelvin McAllister.
Hell yeah, dude. And Snow's Home Alone, baby.
The design of the ship is really cool because you're like, wow, this is a real, because you see the kind of the X-Wings that we kind of took off and kind of flying around it. They're very comparable. It's like, okay, those are maybe 1 or 2 person per ship, and they're surrounding this giant thing that looks about the size of the Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so the vibe I get from that is that the big ship can contain them, kind of like a a battleship that has military jets on it or whatever.
But I love these 2 giant bones kind of jutting out from almost like it is modeled off after some sort of skeleton.
It's super cool looking. It looks like a ship from a Final Fantasy game that we talk about a lot that a lot of people don't like, that I won't name drop directly, but
10.
Something else involving some sort of Ragnarok.
Oh my god, it all comes back together. And behind them, a even larger ship appears, and this one is a real motherfucker. And this is
huge.
This is the Lindblom that I was talking about. That in the data logs, it gives us so much information about it.
Even more organic. It looks like it's made of bone or coral or something.
Oh, I love it. I love the way this thing looks.
looks like a Final Fantasy VII weapon. Like
Yeah.
like a mechanical but organic.
When it's in the fold up position, it kind of looks like a frozen comet.
Okay.
It's just completely round on the front with a giant like spikes kind of sticking out of the back.
The front of it looks like the helmet from Dead Space.
Right. That too.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do with that information, but
yeah, the two halves of almost like the skull kind of spread out as it like starts to kind of envelop and dock with the
it's
Kelvin.
really interesting the way that works. Yeah, there's like two wings, I suppose, on the side, and they become unhinged from the main body of the craft.
Hands are just floating because you see these cables just like hanging between.
Yeah, those cables are super cool.
And there's
looking.
just super long cables that like free hang in the air. Like
it's like its own floating like barricade around it to keep it safe.
Snow loves it. We get a little bit of dialogue as this is all happening. It's kind of all happening at once.
Where's the soul?
Yeah. But before all of this, we get the character who kidnapped him saying, well, I think we also get her name here with the subtitles, like we were saying, where her name is Fang, and says, couldn't run if you wanted to. And then like we see the ship come out and all that cool shit, and Snow's just like, oh, look at you. Wonder what's under the hood of that thing.
Look at you. Wonder what's under the hood of that thing.
Keep your pants on.
And Fang is like already having like a fucking Joss Whedon moment with him. And she's like, you'll get a peek soon enough. And he's like, oh, I won't make any promises. Like,
I was gonna say this is a fucking Marvel movie ass fucking like dialogue where I was just like, shut up. Like when I was doing it on stream, when he's like, what's under the hood of that thing? I just went, shut up.
That thing got a Hemi in it.
Oh my god, yeah.
But yeah, we see some of the smaller ships kind of entering and like docking into it with like cool force fields, like energy force field kind of things that spread out, guiding them in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's like weird little glyph kind of like guiding way markers. That's cool. All the tech design in this game is wild. It's so dense.
There should be a Captain Skyhawk mini game in this where you have to like spin your plane at the same rate that the dock is, so you can fly into it without blowing up. That game is so hard.
You know what's funny is I know we haven't gotten to this in the podcast yet, but I feel like a lot of the technology, especially like the Eden technology and the Sanctum technology, it's very Final Fantasy XII. And obviously that's like the game that just came before it. But this reminds me a lot of like the ship design from 12, like the Bahamut that comes in at the end of the game and like various other ships. They're very like non-aerodynamic. Like they're giant and oddly dense, and like the technology in them is super dense as well. It's very interesting how it looks.
Oh yeah, what was the name of the quote? I mentioned him before. He did all the not the design, character designs, all the tech design.
All the tech designs. Yeah, I remember you talking about it before.
Not Nomura.
Yeah, Nomura designed the gummy ships.
Carl, I designed the gummy ships because they let me design it myself. Right. I can't believe that this is still part of Chapter 4.
I know, it's fucking nuts. This is a long chapter.
The longest fucking chapter ever. It's nuts.
We're on the Lindblom.
Yeah, so we're on the Lindblom.
Yeah, we kind of just see it get, docked onto the larger ship and fly off, and then we get a scene with the. Did we find out who these are? Like, we see Snow actually being escorted.
We're about to.
In this scene, when as soon as the scene comes up and it gives us the name of the ship where it says Lindblom, below the name of the ship, it actually says that this belongs to the Guardian Corps, and so that's who this is.
Yeah, it's another Guardian Corps. But yeah, we kind of see some of these guards walking by, and they meet up with Fang, and they just say like, oh, like he's come to meet you, and then we get a new face but a familiar name. Indeed
we do.
So as soon as he opens his mouth, the subtitles say Reigns, but he immediately introduces himself as Sid.
Yeah.
You must be Snow. Sid Reigns, Brigadier General of the Fleet. Hi, Sid. Thanks for the escort.
And I like that, like, Sid puts his hand out to shake Snow's hand, and Snow is in handcuffs. Like, he's like in shackles.
He's like bound together. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, Sid, man.
It's like you might as well wheel him in a cage. Like, make yourself at home.
Yeah, he's like, But he's like, oh, apologies. I just had a few questions to ask you. And as this is happening, we see some of those like jellyfish kind of things. I forget their names that we had fought a bunch of.
The watch drones?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're just, they have an escort of their own where they're just taking the crystallized like form of Sarah. Just like, I think there's like one in the front and two in the back that are just like pushing her along. It's pretty silly.
I think they're the same ones that probably escorted.
I worded that
onto
really
the ship.
poorly now that I'm thinking about it. I didn't mean anything by that.
No.
Just trying to explain this situation.
You're good. Because here's the thing too. Like when I watched this scene, I had the same thought the first time I played this game, and as I watched this cutscene again, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I think they're going for. It is literally just the same as like the scene where Boba Fett is like loading Han Solo onto the slave one, right? Like she's kind of got that carbonite type deal in her, focus fulfilled crystal, and she's kind of hovering above the ground almost like unnaturally, and the droids are kind of, I guess escorting her like by, and Snow's just kind of there watching.
Here we are in the Cloud City.
Yeah, we're basically
yeah.
exactly.
Can't believe Lando fucking sold us out, man.
But I like that like Snow like sees the droids moving Sarah along, and he kind of flips out for a second. He's like, "Oh, Sarah!" and he struggles against the guards who are holding him, and Fang like takes him out, right? Like
she just puts her like wrist and forearm up to his throat to stop him, and she like she's like smiling a little bit. She just like shakes her head like nope.
Yeah. She's like, mm-mm.
No.
She pushes him backwards. And Sid says, if it works like they tell us, that means she must have fulfilled her focus. Fulfilled her focus as a tainted pulseless sea, that is. Dude, and I was like, dick move.
The old Punto Reverso there is so good.
I know.
Like, he's basically like, yeah, she did her job. Like a bitch, like completely fucking dunks on her. Like it's so bad. Like, dude, that is like
it's fucked up.
And the thing that makes it so bad is Snow is exactly the type of person that would take the bait too. Like
Snow is definitely the type of individual that all you have to do is call him a chicken for him to completely alter his future and make him unable to play guitar because he gets into a wreck that destroys his hand.
I will say, like, for an abundance of reasons that have nothing to do with this scene, Sid Reigns in FF13 is my favorite Sid of the entire series. But
really,
similar to this scene, it is because there are a bunch of moments where, you might as well freeze frame, throw some rap music on, and the shades are coming down because, dude, he just has some like absolutely quality quips that he just drops on people.
Does he have his arm in a cast too? It looks like his left arm maybe like stuck, broken or something. I can't tell in this scene.
I think he's just holding it real cool.
You know what it looked? You know what I thought?
Adding to Muttski's.
I thought it was kind of like an Orin deal. Where like he's kind of
what I got.
Orin kind of has like the arm in the thing, but like I guess when he needs it, he can pull it out. Yeah.
I'm now just imagining fucking like the next episode playing during all of this. It's just like yada da da da. Sid Reigns. It's the motherfucking.
Look at the ID.
Bring in the rain. Is so everyone good. In this game named after a fucking like weather system?
Lightning, snow, rains. Yeah.
Oh my god, I did not even fucking realize that because like I feel like Rains is actually a name.
Yeah,
I'm too horse-pilled. I'm still horse-pilled.
We've already had Cloud and Squall and all this
Cloud,
shit.
Squall.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Odin, thinking about the horse, thinking about those kinds of reigns.
Dude, I just learned today, speaking of Final Fantasy names, do you know that in Japanese, Amarant's name is Salamander? It's fucked up. Didn't know that.
Flaming Salamander. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
dude.
sorry.
Because he is, dude, you got to bless Sid Reigns down in Africa. Amaranth doesn't get that. Right? He doesn't get that kind of respect.
I do like that, like, the way they drop it, too, is that, like, they show Sid being very, like, proper, right? Like, he speaks very evenly and very calmly. He's clearly in charge of the situation. And so when he does go, like, a tainted pulseless sea, I was like, what an asshole. Like, I thought he was going to be cool. And then immediately they flip right back to it. Like, as soon as you do that, and you're like, oh, I hate this guy, they flip the switch again, and he's like, oh, okay, I need to ask you questions about Pulse. Like, it's very important that we find out what's going on. Like, I'm a good guy. And I was like, you can't do that. that's not fair.
Also, fulfill their focus as it taints a Pulse to see, like, how else are you going to do it?
Yeah, how else are you going to do it?
You try it.
But no, yeah, like I think that's kind of the reason. Like, I really do think he's just like a really cool character. On top
he's
of
good cop and the bad cop.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, that's great.
All cops are
That's
bad
great.
cops.
He has really heated conversations with himself. The bathroom mirror.
Yeah, that's right.
You think she was out to hurt Cocoon? I'd hardly be alone if I did. When it comes to Pulse, who could claim to know anything? I need the truth, for the sake of Cocoon.
And like at this point, because we already see that PsyCom and the Guardian Force are kind of opposed in some ways, or at very least they're not aligned in their ideals. I feel like the game is giving us this feeling of like, okay, Sid may not be a bad guy. He might be on our side to some extent. But Snow's like, we're from Cocoon. Like, what do you mean for the sake of Cocoon? That's us. And, you people are shipping us out and you're purging innocent people. Is that how you lend us a hand? And Reigns says, yeah, but those are the Sanctum's methods. And like, I don't know if I, like, you are part of the Sanctum, buddy. Like, you're both underneath it. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a little bit weird. But he goes on to say, the public fears what it doesn't know. It's grown tired of living in constant terror of these threats from the world below. So the Sanctum has devised a plan for Ulysses. And Snow's like, oh, I'll bet. And he goes, a public execution. The people don't know any better. Strike down the phantoms before their eyes and they'll sleep like babes. Mm-hmm. And like, Snow gets like real upset about this. He shakes off the guys.
Yeah,
he starts fighting.
Like, he's still handcuffed.
Fang immediately just kicks him in the fucking face, though.
Yeah.
Dude, she fucking just kicks him to the ground, knocks him the fuck out.
God, I'm just watching this, like all the camera motions in this. There's a lot of really good, like, kind of dolly zooms where they kind of pull out while zooming, and the vertigo zooms on like Sid and shit. It's
yeah.
It's very dramatic, this sequence.
I feel like if you took this screenshot of like the camera from Snow's perspective looking up as Fang's like staring down at him and Sid just walking away, like I feel like there's so many ways you could turn that into just like an Ace meme, like just that look that she is giving him, like, buddy, no go, bro.
Just Asuka from Evangelion, pathetic.
Yeah, pathetic. Yeah.
This is the Tarantino trunk shot.
Well, it's because I feel like to this point, I feel like even the people that are in the party, earlier on, that just, I feel like they even hope to an extent, like even if they think like Snow is intolerably annoying, like they still kind of just deal with him. And Fang is like the first person now that's basically been like, dude, this shit ain't flying here. Like he is totally not in control.
I mean, Lightning punched him twice, I think the last time they met each other, right?
Yeah.
More or less.
But
that's true.
Like, Snow's like always trying to force himself to be the leader. Like he's like, I got the loudest voice in the room. You guys can follow me. Like, just trust me. Like, I'm here to protect people. And in this moment, like, he's clearly not the most powerful person in control at all. Mm-hmm. And like, I think that the perspective that we're getting in this shot, like, really just like hammers that home, for us and him.
I will bring this up because I looked this up because of this this part of the game that we're playing, but not because of this section, because of the next section. But speaking of Snow being a very loud and big voice, I was like, Snow's taller than everybody in this game. How tall is Snow? He is 6'7". He is a monster.
Makes sense.
an absolute creature.
I don't know if I think I may have also looked that up at some point just because of how much taller he is than Sarah.
There's a scene where Sarah gives him a hug in a flashback in this scene, and that's when I was like, what the fuck? Like, he's so big.
But I was like, Snow's got real 6'7" energy.
His full name is Snow Kilo O'Neal, so like I don't know why any of you are shocked by his height even a little bit.
But yeah, right before we get into the next scene, we kind of just have a shot of Fang kind of walking over to Snow as he's still surrounded by guards, like from above, and it just kind of zooms in on his face, and the only thing he says is like, he's in a really bad spot, but he just says Sarah, like, still one track mind, still not really as concerned about himself. He's mostly just concerned about his fiance.
And now we are in another flashback.
Another flashback. Yeah.
Is this no, this isn't the furthest back we've been, right? I'm trying to remember.
I think we do have a data log from day 5, but it was just mentioned in passing of the gorge incident.
Yeah.
Which we don't really know anything.
We haven't seen anything directly. It was just mentioned.
The Uride Gorge incident, which is mentioned as a day 5 incident, but
yeah.
Yeah, but we are in day 7, and we get a nice kind of daytime, it's like sunset shot of Bodhum.
Yeah, and
the seaside city of Bodhum, no less.
The fireworks egg has not been put up yet.
The fireworks egg is not up. But there are a certain kind of fireworks going on because the scene is in the middle of Snow and Sarah breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
finally,
and he's taking it very like non-seriously in a way at first. He's kind of like, all right, this is out of nowhere. What's going on? Like they've had a good relationship.
It looks like they're like a party gazebo or something.
Yeah.
The area is weird. It looks like they're at like a villa.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a stereo system and there's
dude,
like
that speaker's real nice looking. It's like as tall as Snow.
This is like an event space, I'm guessing, where you have parties and shit. But,
I would think his attitude here is best just like described by comparing it to like in a scenario if Curtis were to like tell me he was never gonna eat McDonald's again. Like I think I would just kind of scoff at how serious he is, and also kind of dig that maybe there's something beneath the surface that we need to have a conversation about.
Right.
I'd be very worried.
Like he really does, for being dumped, seem. I don't want to say he doesn't seem like he cares. I think he just knows that like the breakup is kind of bullshit, and that there's like
he knows that there's a level underneath.
That's not the conversation
they
they need to be having, right?
Exactly.
We've had fights before, and he's like, "Come on, like you don't mean that kind of thing."
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's an interesting. It raises a question about like Sarah as a character, because we'll find out later that this isn't the only instance of her saying something and just not being believed. Like, so maybe it's a thing like, boy who cried wolf, who like people are
maybe
just
she's
like,
a pathological liar.
Yeah, she's either a pathological liar. She's either really bad at lying, or the third option, which is more likely, it's probably more to do with the people that she's talking to in these situations who are like, nah, you're full of shit. I refuse to believe you.
Actually, when you put it that way, like Sarah is kind of like the two people closest in her life are both fucking psychotic. Like they're both crazy.
This is the episode of Seinfeld where George tries breaking up with his girlfriend. And she's like, no. And he says it's like the submarine nukes. Like you both have to turn the key.
But yeah, so they're getting. She's basically trying to break up with him. He kind of sees that something else is going on, and so he's like, digging a little bit, trying to get that about what's going on. And he kind of goofs around with her a little bit. He's like,
being alone's all right, I guess. Yep, always was until we met. But then we did, and now I know there's something better. Being with you.
And she's not really having it. She's just kind of like, no, it's over. I don't want to be with you.
I hate you. Give me $200.
Right. Yeah. And when he says, we've come too far to quit now. And she goes, that's not your choice. And then he goes, okay, so do you really want to leave? Like, is that really what you want? And she goes, I don't want to, but I have to. And I feel like that is like the sign of like, okay, what's going on here? What do you mean? And he's like, look, if it's something that I did, just tell me, what happened? Like, what's going on? At least tell me that. And she's like, all right. And so she stops, and she's like a little ways away from him. She's kind of been walking away from him, trying to put distance in between them. And she goes, okay, I'll show you what's going on. And she reveals that she's been branded by a foul sea and that she's now a sea, right? So this is the scene where they find that out, or where Snow finds that out. And he is, oh man, dude. The acting and like the facial movements on it, fantastic, because you can see his fucking heart sink so hard. Because I guess the people of this world clearly know the legends and shit like that. They're always talking about the legends, the stories. So like he inherently knows, like he is well versed in what it means to be a C already.
Yeah, it sucks.
And he's just like, oh no, he's real fucked up. He drops to his knees right when he finds out.
Yeah, his gears are turning.
Yeah. And she's like, so do you get it now? I'm an enemy of Pulse. I'm a danger to us all. Or I'm sorry, I'm an enemy of Cocoon. I'm a danger to us all. Goodbye. And she runs off, right? And he's still so like...
She does the anime run.
And she's still so like... Or he's still so taken aback that he can't even like gain his composure until she's already gone, right? She's already like run away and we don't see her anymore.
Yeah, the fade out makes it seem like a few minutes may have passed where he just finally like gets his shit together and maybe comes with like thinks of something.
Yeah, he finally kind of snaps to and is like, "Oh, Sarah, where are you?" And runs off after her. And then we get to play as Snow as we go walking around Bodhum looking for Sarah.
In the past.
I do think that, like, you know, when you kind of consider what the bomb that has just been dropped on him and just like how drastically different that was from what he was expecting the conversation to probably be about. And just, you know, you guys had talked on past episodes about just like the indoctrination of just these people's beliefs about the l'Cie, and just kind of having that thrown at him. Like, I kind of get why it takes him, you know, a good couple minutes before he gathers himself and, like, you know, kind of musters up the resolve that he kind of has, you know, that we see, and early on is almost portrayed as like obnoxiously overprotective about Sarah. But now I can see like where that budding beginning of that's coming from. And I do think it is really noble that Snow in this, but at the end of the scene, you can kind of pick up that like he's made up his mind whose side he is going to be on, and it's going to be that of Sarah. So I do think that like this scene is, at this point, I think it is Snow's most important scene as far as understanding everything else that we've already seen him do. And so I do like this scene quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree with you.
This is where he gets his personal focus.
Yeah.
I also just really relate on a really strong personal level to Sarah in this scene, because I too, when I was about her age, also got some tattoos that I was ashamed to show people. So like I totally, you know, I've been there, you know.
I should say she has like a little bandage over it. It's like a little white bandage just wraps around it.
So anytime you're in a tricky like relationship, just get a tattoo, then you can just break
that'll
it off
solve
easy.
it.
Yeah, I just remember going home, my mom being like, "Hey Kev, what's that wrapped around your arm there for?" You know? And I'm just like, "Oh shit, sorry, Mom."
I'm supposed to wait till your birthday to tell you.
That's that reminds me of my older brother Mark when he was a teenager. He was kind of the black sheep of the family. He was the one who was always getting into trouble, and he went down to Wildwood and got his tongue pierced, and he also had a lisp that he had to go to speech therapy for and stuff. So tongue ring healing, or tongue piercing, healing, having a lisp didn't really take all that much time for my mom to find out about it.
Goodness. But yeah, we get to run around the beach of Bodhum.
The majority of the notes that I took for this section are in this one area.
It's
like
a
all
really
of the
interesting area. I think this is I can't remember, we might have gotten into this on another episode too. Is this the only time that we were able to walk around in a flashback?
Yes. I think so
is.
far.
I think so,
as much as like the last time we all talked to each other, I was like, no, I'm pretty sure we got to before. I was entirely wrong. This is the first time.
But yeah, we're outside of, I'm guessing, LeBrow's beach house, as it says on the front.
Oh, cool.
I think we saw this in a flashback where he pops in like looking for Sarah before he ends up popping the question.
That's right.
Which I think maybe their quote unquote usual spot is actually where they just were.
Or it might be where they end up meeting here. Hard to say. Maybe.
Well, I don't think they were on dock or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it's interesting as we walk up to the beach house. There's an interesting orange sign on the left with like a weird like bird thing that just says beware on it. I'm not really sure why it says beware out front of the cafe.
I'm imagining with a lot of the field dialogue that we get, there's always a chance that some monsters might be around. So
I don't think this is spoilers because it's not even about FF13. But when we start this section, Snow has his back to some rocks on the beach, and we can't go back there. The game prevents us from going back there. However, in the intro scene of Final Fantasy 13 2, we can go back there, and there are monsters right back there, like just some like random beasts walking around. So there you go. There's the answer.
That explains maybe why Psycom is, or I guess maybe why Lightning would be stationed here to kind of.
Yeah.
Killing womp rats and whatnot.
Bullseyeing them back home.
But I love walking around this beach. I was very excited to talk about a very good friend that I'm in love with. This guy here. I'm going to drop him in the Discord.
I was going to say, is it Godot? Because Godot is here. Who you got? Let's see here. Oh, that's right. I didn't even see him.
There's a dog.
Dude, what a good boy. Yeah. What a cute boy. Oh my god, dude. Not to mention, look at that guy's calves in the foreground too. Holy shit.
Oh my god, yeah.
My god.
But so this is like a weird, like, I mean, every animal in the Final Fantasy universes tend to be kind of like a magical version, but this is like kind of a lasty dog, but is even poofier. I think this went semi-viral from Lightning Returns because his model gets a little shittier by the time. There's a low poly version, like even lower poly version of this dog. It looks completely broken.
That's beautiful.
I love him. But yeah, there's a guy hanging out with his dog. There's like a daughter talking about like the waves, like where do waves come from?
Daddy, where do waves come from?
Speaking of that character, I don't know if like
the wave fallacy, obviously.
I don't know if it was different in y'all's game or whatever. I assumed that like some NPCs got separated or something, but that the little girl who goes, "Daddy, where do waves come from?" There was no one around her, and I was like,
"Yeah, that's how it was for me."
Who is she talking to?
I had to stand between them, and like one was like 20 feet in one direction, the other one was like 50 feet the other. I'm like, ooh, lots of water, Daddy. Where's the ocean end? And like, oh, I think a cocoon's outer shell, baby. There's a wall on the other side of the sea. Don't they teach you at school?
Oh, it's like one of those infinity pools.
Between Saz and this kid and this dad, I guess the school system is not very good because he's like, what are you teaching you kids? Oh yeah, I now remember. How big is the wall? And they don't answer that. But Daddy, where do waves come from? Like, well, the water hits the cocoon's wall and then it bounces back.
Yeah, clearly Cocoon has an overbloated military budget and they don't allocate any funds to the Department of Education.
It's a good thing that he gave her a straight answer there before before Snow had the opportunity to draft him into his guerrilla militia, later.
Yeah.
What was interesting also, it doesn't say it in game, but there are some random characters around that in the script are mentioned as Nora members, so people who aren't part of like our core, like 5 groups. So like, hey, Snow, you on patrol? Not much creeping out today.
I was gonna say, speaking of the person who says like, hey, Snow, are you on patrol? I was like, I don't think I've seen an NPC yet in the game who has recognized that we exist. And so when they were like, hey, Snow, I was like, what? Holy shit.
Snow's really cool and everyone loves him.
Yeah.
Or like one was like, I put on a few pounds, so Godot's helping me train.
That's right.
Yeah.
Going jogging with you later if you want to join us. Hey, Snow, where are you headed?
I could be wrong here. So this is before.
But those are all nameless members of Nora.
So including the nameless members of Nora and the members of Nora who are here, we have Godot and Yuge and all of them. They're all here.
Apparently his fresh look, which we've seen already, but he apparently looked different before the scene.
So this is before the purge, right? This is before the quarantine and everything. And I could be wrong about my numbers here, but I counted about 4 people in Bodhum who say some version of "it sure is boring here. I wish something dangerous would happen." And I was like,
I hate when it's so peaceful. I think someone says something like that.
So yeah.
So glad this peace is going to last forever.
The reason I joined a militia is to fight something.
Yeah. We have a militia, but we don't even have anybody to fight. Wish we could fight someone. Like, shut up.
A lot of people are like, man, I'm so glad I get to live forever.
These are the people that were taking out 7 mortgages in 2003, right? They're like, man, I can't believe, dude,
go wrong?
These mortgage loans, man, they just pay themselves. That's what these people are doing.
Yeah, I know.
The reason they call it a bubble is because it keeps on bubbling up.
Throw more soap on that bubble, baby.
The good fucking cocoon bubble, because it's a big bubble too.
It is, yeah. Usually I think it's like a rich boy because they're like, hey, how do you like the new look? No decent clothes in Pal and Poland. Had to go all the way to Eden to get them. Like, dude, you want to fucking like.
Literally everything we've read, even in the data log, says that everybody buys stuff online. You could have just got it online. You didn't have to go all the way to Eden.
He's like, no, I don't feel like paying shipping. And then it's like, okay, how much does the fucking gas or whatever cost to get you to Eden?
Man, dude.
He had to go to a fucking like sky cruise, like to go shopping. He's like, it just
Dude,
so he can look fresh for the part of his militia.
You got to get that Sanctum Prime, free 2-day shit.
Say it's Sanctum Prime.
Unless he means like the actual, because there is like a vending machine in LeBro's shop that says like Eden Network, but I'm not sure if it's news related or a shopping kiosk.
There are several machines in LeBro's cafe, and I like took note of all of them. There's a coffee maker in there, and I was like, ooh, Final Fantasy Future coffee, incredible. And there's also like a little a bar cabinet that has like energy drinks and shit inside of it, and I was like, wow, it's amazing. And they're all made very like there's a lot of care that was taken into modeling and texturing them, like in a way that I've never seen these items before ever. And I was like, somebody actually designed all these labels. That's incredible.
I went into the textures just to see, like, wow, there's like a launch of like in-world brands and stuff. Like there's apparently an energy drink called Shout.
That's awesome.
There's a poster that says Infoma, which looks almost like a Game Informer magazine cover or something like that.
Oh, that's really cute. Yeah. It would be really good if they had product placement. Like I think this was kind of the first instance of Final Fantasy getting into that kind of world. But at the time that this game came out, it would have been perfect if they're like, what kind of energy drink do gamers like? We can get a product placement deal with them. And like Lightning Snow walks up and just grabs a bottle of balls. Just like cracks it open. He's like, oh, I love it.
Balls.
Fresh.
There's also beach rental and stuff here. I was trying to figure out what the menu says, but you can rent like a parasol, lounge chair, inner tube, deck chair, and bodyboard.
I didn't know that's what that was. I saw that. So they have like the little chalk sign like you see out of like out in front of cafes in real life. I was about to say in the real life, but
real life.
And I was like, oh, those have got to be like Arnold Palmer, Americano, like stuff like that or whatever. But apparently it's like rentals.
Yeah, then there's like an actual food menu that says restaurant food. I'm still trying to decipher all of it because it's very like compressed textures. But the drinks, they just have water, sparkling water, something water, like hot water or tea water. There is tea, orange juice, and oolong tea. I'm curious what the top is, and maybe it's shaved ice.
Oh, I see.
If it was water ice, that would be very
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been going through. There's a water brand called Lago Blue.
Is that what that is? Is the water brand?
But what about balls? Do you see balls?
I never had a balls.
They're pretty good. I think there was like banana flavored was like the one.
I have a ball sticker on my guitar case.
Really?
I just remember being like 16 or something and going to Micro Center for the first time and being like, whoa, this place it's so cool. And then seeing balls being like, huh, that's funny. And drinking it and being like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's like a less fizzy monster.
I'm glad you had a good experience with that Carl.
Oh, yeah. Always.
I was going to say, you know what? Your younger self was right. Micro Center is tight.
That became a work thing after a while, that exact one. So I ended up just fucking hating Micro Center.
I see.
There's a poster on the wall of like a model or something, like a very fashionable. I was wondering, did these motherfuckers put Gact in another goddamn game?
Yeah, it's very chic. I'm in FOMA. I wonder if that's like either an artist or like a fashion line or something like that.
I wonder.
Yeah. I'm sure they have concerts out here. It's like when Rammstein played.
That just happened. That's right.
Wells Fargo last night.
Oh, damn. They played shit. That would have been... I hear they put on a really good show.
It looks nuts.
Yeah, there's a lot of fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't burn down all of, South Philly.
But yeah, we were looking around. I know McKee's like hanging out by some motorcycles.
Yeah.
The ones I assume have a little bit more soul than the ones Godot is familiar with.
You know what?
They do look a lot more cool and less sci-fi.
I never noticed it until you mentioned it in a past flashback, Alex. But in all of these flashbacks, and in this one included, the fucking vestige is back there.
Yeah.
Just looming over everything. And I feel like I've never noticed
it
before.
It's like Epcot Center.
Just like Epcot Center. What do you think's in the big... What's in the big ball at Epcot Center?
What's the golf ball?
Oh shit, it's a foul C.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go into the middle of it, it brands you a Disney Lassie.
Oh god, a fate worse than death.
You have to, you're fated to destroy Universal
Your focus
Studios.
is to clean the toilets at Disney World.
It's good.
But yeah, you have to kind of walk around, right? There's not really much. I think Godot and Yuge are hanging out on the porch. Lebreau's working. But yeah, she's like, why the long face? Do you and Sarah have a fight or something?
Yeah.
You talked to her a few times because like, what are you doing moping around here? Go find that girl's here and tell you what you have to tell her.
Yeah,
everybody
every single
says some
NPC it takes a while to exhaust all of their dialogue, I've noticed. Yeah. And I was like, damn. And some of it's interesting. Like, I think Yuge is talking about, the Urid Gorge accident. Yeah. He's like, oh, but I wonder why Psycom was there. As everyone's like, oh, it's so peaceful. I hate it. And like, they're like, oh, weird that Psycom would go there. Oh, this weird vestige over there.
Actually, there is an important piece of dialogue that Godot says that I've never heard before, because I've never actually gone and exhausted his dialogue, where he says, I saw some girls in weird clothes hanging out by the vestige the other day.
Yeah.
So like important piece of information. You just put a little pin in that.
Yeah. I was wondering too, I was like, oh, I wonder if I can like try and make my way to the vestige to see who he's talking about or like get a shot. You can't. Like you can kind of see the vestige like we were saying, but pretty much we talked to LeBro. I think we just I
think it's the only way to continue because I was like, where the fuck am I supposed to go? You talk to LeBro, but she doesn't like have normal, it's not like an actual like interaction, like a cutscene or anything. She just talks to you as if she's like an NPC.
Yeah.
Which makes it seem less important, but it is what you need to do to continue. Because when you turn around, Sarah's on the dock.
Yeah, your mini map kind of updates and shows you where to walk, which is a dock that previously was just completely empty. I do like how I think LeBro is trying to like wingman a little bit for Snow throughout the dialogue. She's like, oh, go find your girlfriend and like, I'll make you guys a romantic dinner so you can make up.
Wait a second. Does Sarah have magic too?
Well, presumably at this point, right?
Yeah, maybe she can turn invisible.
Yeah, she's Invisa or whatever it is from FF6.
But Snow runs up onto the dock and that triggers our next cutscene.
Right.
He's freaking out.
Babe, no, babe, wait, babe.
But yeah, he just says
she should have sidestepped and just goes plunging into the water.
Babe, what's wrong? You've hardly touched your focus,
Sarah! What is your focus? L'Cie have a focus, right? I'll go with you. Help you do it. Just let me.
No. If you're with me, the sanctum
I will be with you. No matter what. We've come too far to quit now.
If you're with me, the sanctum will, like, presumably talking about, like, you can't be an accomplice.
Yeah, this is my curse. I don't want to get you roped into it.
Right.
She says, I don't know my focus. I'm going to be a monster. And Snow, as always, says, nah, if I'm here, I'll protect you. We'll figure this out, do it together, okay?
And she's like, okay. You know what I mean? She like accepts his assistance. And I love that.
Yeah. It's really nice. I mean, she's expecting everyone in the world to be against her now. So, to the point where she was trying to spare him. And he's...
I think the promise is playing during this, right?
Yeah,
that one.
Because I do think that earlier, in the previous scene, like what Sarah is doing, I kind of talked about Snow kind of making, having that noble realization, right? And then, chasing after Sarah. I think what Sarah's trying to do for Snow is pretty noble in and of itself, where she's like, I love this guy, but I know that like with what I have now placed on my plate is only going to be fucking horrible for this person that I care deeply about, right? And so she tries to create a distance between them. And then, now kind of having this moment, where he goes and chases her down. And I think that, she realizes that like Snow's not just like full of shit and all talk about wanting to genuinely, protect and support her in this, very uncertain circumstance. And so I do think that those two cutscenes back to back and like this whole scene is like really, really nice for just like actually giving me a reason to like Snow. Like really, like before this, like there really isn't really all that much that I admire about him. And then I see this day, and I'm
the
like,
proposal scene I thought was very noble too, because we all knew already knew about the whole,
true.
Like,
that's
true.
Like,
this is so heavy, and like it's like extremely noble that he's like sticking with her throughout this. It's cool, but even that this, like, it's just kind of the coming out scene for him when this is like when he found out, and then later we'll find out when Lightning found out.
Yeah, because a lot of the characterization that we got for Snow was from everyone else around him and saying, like, how they feel about him. Like, oh, he just seems like he's all talk and he's just, no action. And he is always in over his head. And he's always, like, the stakes have never really been that high. Like, even the fucking cops are like, whatever, let those kids do what they want. No one's getting hurt. That 6'7" fucking asshole can take care of himself. Let him beat up some animals so we don't have to do our job or whatever. So, like, no one really took him seriously. But like now that the stakes are the highest that they can pretty much ever be in this world, and he's just like, no, I'm right here. I'm gonna help you. I'm going to protect you. I'm gonna do everything I can.
Right.
They kind of like try to like find the silver lining. Like, well, when L'Cie complete their focus, they'll be blessed with the gift of eternity. They wouldn't call it eternity if you died.
Yeah.
Like, is that right? Is that how religion works?
I mean, kind of like eternal life in, Catholicism. They say you live an eternal life in heaven or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as they said, you'll see, you and me will always be together. And then we get another Vanille.
We get another Vanille thing, yeah.
Even if death was all that she had waiting, nothing would have changed. Sarah was brave enough to face it.
But it's not true. Something does change. The disc.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm so excited that I got to be on.
Shit.
I told Alex weeks ago that I wanted to come on a particular episode. Didn't know exactly when it was going to happen or if it was actually going to line up, but it did. I wanted to be here for this moment more than any other moment in the entire game. Final Fantasy XIII holds a special place in my heart for two deeply nostalgic things for me. First, this game is the last game I have ever bought in my entire life where I actually camped out and waited and got it at midnight at its release. This is the last time I actually went to a video game store and got a midnight release, was Final Fantasy XIII. And they hooked me up so hard because I actually didn't pre-order the game, not thinking that I had to, because I didn't think it was going to be like some super hot commodity. And they had extras, but at the midnight release, they were only allowing people that had pre-ordered it to get one. So I had waited in line for 2 hours prior to them opening the GameStop at midnight. I go up to the counter and, the guy that's selling it to me is like, hey, I'm really sorry, but we're only doing pre-orders tonight. You'll have to come back in the morning. And the other cashier overhears the conversation and he's like, he can have my pre-order. And so the other cashier actually pre-ordered the game, but he's like, I'm working right now. I'm not going to go home and play it. You can just have my pre-order. So he canceled his pre-order and gave it to me. And so I got the game at midnight because of this really nice
that's amazing. That's awesome.
And so I have a very fond memory of it. And like I said, it's the last time that I ever actually went out to buy a physical copy of game at midnight. It was the Friday, I think, or Saturday that spring break was starting my freshman year of college. So I was looking forward. I basically spent the whole week just playing this game. And I got to this part, or it was really when I opened because I played the Xbox 360 edition, obviously.
Yeah.
It was when I opened it up and I took out the disc and I saw that there were two more. I was like, oh my God, this is my Final Fantasy. As you three know, but maybe not everyone listening knows, my bread and butter is FF9, 8, and 7. Those are the ones I play. Those are the ones I love most passionately. And just getting to this moment and just popping open the disc tray and swapping disc, I was like, mwah, Final Fantasy, you my best friend. It was just something that means nothing to probably 99% of the people playing this game, but it meant everything to me.
That's so good.
On behalf of all the Gen Zers who are listening, I'll bite. What's a disc?
Well, but here's kind of the interesting and ironic thing too, I guess, is that obviously the disc change has nothing to do with this, but this is still my favorite Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy IX. Really since the transition to PS2, FF13 has remained my favorite one after that PS1 era. That's my heyday of Final Fantasy games. So those are kind of just two really nostalgic things that I had attached to this game. And I was really, really hoping to get to the part where we get to change discs. So anyone that's following along at home on the Xbox 360 edition, savor that disc swap. All right.
And don't lose it.
Yeah, do not lose disc 2. Don't be like GMC Faux Show in his last disc of FF7. You need all of them to play the game.
That's a really sweet story, and it's very tragic that GameStop headquarters caught wind of that employee hooking you up like that, and then had him publicly executed to make an example of him for doing something good for a customer, because they did not take kindly to that.
They branded the Lassie on the Lassie tattoo on his arm.
Oh man, it's funny. I didn't even think of that as a component of this. But it's funny that you guys bring it up on this episode, because right before we started, I was looking up some differences between the PS3 version and the PC version, just because I noticed Curtis's right after me doing the boss fight, which we may or may not get to, and not finishing it because it's very difficult for me. I was watching Curtis play through it, and his frame rate looks a lot better. So I was like, oh, it would make sense that PS3 might run in 30 and PC might run in 60, or upscaling or whatever. And I wanted to confirm that. And the first thing that came up when I searched like PS3 FPS was just an old like forum from 2010, like March 5th, 2010, that just says FF13 on 360, quote unquote, isn't anywhere near as impressive as PS3. And I was just like, oh, what's this? Is this a review or something? It's just some shitty like fan on a site. And like the first thing that someone said about it was just like, oh dear. Also, enter fanboys, just basically being like the console war thing, like being like, shut up.
Yeah, what was like the PS3 was kind of said to be like looks better but runs slower.
Yeah, probably something like that.
No, those are all days of the past, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about FPS.
What's a
or anything.
console?
I've been trying to bring back the console wars by just dunking on Xbox 360, even though that's all I had.
360.
I just always say like, "Oh, you turn 360 degrees and walk away."
I love that.
The thing that makes
so
no
much.
fucking sense.
It's so good. It's
I did end up getting a PS3 eventually and buying this game again on it and playing it on the PS3. I wasn't really in the market for a PS3, but as you know, I'm really into movies. Shout outs to Alex, follows me on Letterboxd, my guy. So I bought my PS3 because I wanted to get a Blu-ray player, and this is when Blu-ray players were still like pretty fucking expensive. And so I
mean, it's the same thing with the PS2. Is that
exactly,
part of the reason the PS2 was such a commodity? Like,
yeah, you could play movies on it, right? Yeah. So I was like,
it's like this. The Slim is like so tiny and like,
yeah, exactly. So that's what I ended up
Just
getting. I got like a pre-owned Slim, and it was like $150 because the Blu-ray players I wanted were like $120, and I was like, dude, I'm just gonna get a fucking PS3.
Not the ill-fated HD DVD.
Yeah.
My old like record shop still had a section with like had the red box.
Yeah, instead of the blue
one.
one. I remember.
And like everything was there. Like, oh man, all these great deals for movies I can't play.
The PS.
They had a UMD section too. If you had a PSP, you can watch Spirits Within on a little.
Probably watch Shrek on that bad boy, or you can watch the Shrek that they have on Game Boy Advance. I assume.
Oh my god.
The PS3 that I'm playing off of is actually my fiance's, and she has two. One of them is the backwards compatible one from launch, and the other one is just a different one that I don't know where she got that one.
Or whatever.
But I think at the time that this launched, her dad did the same thing. He wanted a Blu-ray player, and the market was just crazy for them. So he's like, well, why don't we just get the PlayStation 3 because it's almost the same price as a Blu-ray player, and you get so much more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
PS3s are still great.
Yeah, I love this thing.
I think at the time you could install Linux on them, too, for a while.
Yo, I can play Doom.
Well, anyway. Carl didn't have to change his disc.
I did not. I did have to save my progress, though.
You didn't have to.
I didn't have to, but
it's recommended. I did. I always save whenever I can because running at 4K can be kind of unstable.
Yeah, I learned the hard way that even though this game is very forgiving with its battles, you probably want to save as much as possible because that kind of bit me in the ass this time around.
To take some of Lightning's words, it's not about whether you can or can't save your game at the end of that. Some things you just do.
Yeah, exactly.
So, should we take a break before we enter the next?
I'd say that's probably a pretty good place to take a break.
Why, sure. Why, certainly.
All right. Let's hit the data logs.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm gonna go make a playlist of all Infoma top hits. You know?
Hey, this area is a place that I know the name of because we mentioned it once on an earlier episode.
We were at the mall and we heard this song.
We heard the song for this place at the mall. It's just like canonically the mall.
Yeah, I feel like the Gates of Antiquity Mall would definitely be a place I would go to in Massachusetts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Retail Archaeology. Today we're at the Gates of Antiquity Mall in Phoenix, Arizona.
By the way, the art director I was trying to think of is Isamu Kamikokuryo, I think is his name.
Isamu Kamikokuryo.
But yeah, he's of course introduced the series in Final Fantasy X, designing all the gadgets, and then I think he's hopped in on 12 as like main art director, which is why you start seeing like a different visual vocabulary kind of kick in after 10.
I will say that this guy is going absolutely ham on this game. Like he is having the time of his life. Whether or not it was like fun for him, I'll never know. But like, he went all the way on everything in this game.
There's actually a really good like little documentary on him that's really nice. That they kind of spend time like interviewing and time talking. He's like out in like nature, just like with a sketch pad and like a paintbrush and just like sketching out stuff. And it's really cool, kind of his methodology.
I would like to see that.
But I also think it's very funny that his whole like catalog is like Final Fantasy 10, then 12, then 13, then 13-2, then 15, then Paper Mario, Origami King.
Oh, nice. I love that game.
That is a game that many people have told me they deeply dislike, but I thoroughly enjoyed.
I love it.
I had a great time.
I would describe it as like kind of like whimsical. Like it's got like a good whimsy about it. I enjoy the humor. I thought it was kind of a cute little thing. I had a lot of fun playing it. Yeah.
Well, now I gotta play it to see if there's any parallels in the visual style.
Oh, it's basically the same game. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
To 13, yeah, okay,
yeah, dude. You paradigm shift, but you do origami, like you fold shit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
yeah. In this, we also have a boss that's just a shit ton of colored pencils that we got to take down.
You just wait till Hope takes the stapler to the face, man. It's game over.
Do y'all remember how scary the fucking scissors were? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, terrifying.
Terrifying.
But we're in the Gapra Whitewoods, which is basically Macalania Forest, but it's electronic.
Yeah, that's pretty much right.
It's the EDM version. There's so much. They just jam to the dubstep while they're hanging out in Macalania here.
I mean, like the paths that we're walking on, they do look like the floor of like a stage at like
it's a Mario Kart,
like a big
track.
EDM fest or something.
Yeah,
or like Rainbow
Kart
Road.
8. Yeah. The establishing shot that we get here is really cool because we kind of just see Lightning doing like a military kind of formation sort of run into here, like checking to make sure everything,
she's doing her SWAT sweep.
Coast is clear. Yeah, exactly. And she's just holding her gun blade like ready to shoot, which we've established that she does do with that as well. But kind of interesting that,
gun mode.
I guess if you saw someone coming for you, it's easier to just shoot at them than to turn it into a gun and, or turn it into a blade and fight them.
Behind them, I noticed that the doors that close, like I guess we're kind of in a contained forest because this is like SciComm controlled area, right?
Yes. Okay. So speaking of which, there's 2 entries in the data log. Now that you say that, one of them is so SciComm does control this area. It is under their jurisdiction in a special group or a special offshoot of SciComm called the Woodlands Observation Battalion. And I have that written down, and I forgot to actually mention this earlier. We learn about another offshoot of the military called the Wide Area Response Brigade, which is what Sid Raines is in charge of. That's his actual like titles. He's the Brigadier General of the Wide Area Response Brigade.
So he's the Navy, and these guys are like the Mounties, the park rangers.
And they make a statement that SciComm operates from Eden, like that's like their home base. But the Guardian Corps have no home base, and so the Lindblom is their flying fortress. Like that's like their thing that they are part of.
I love that the Lindblom just by name sounds like a blimp, like an old like the Hindenburg or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're in the Whitewood. But I noticed that behind them the door closes, and like I think what Lightning says, like, oh, I guess there's no one following us or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Hope's kind of like, oh, I can't believe we made it.
But yeah, the door that closes is pretty much the same like design as like the giant hangar that we flew out of Hanging Edge from as well. So there's an interesting continuing that motif of like a giant V shape or trapezoidal shape with like splaying out lights, even though it's a different size. Interesting. But yeah, that'll slow down pursuit is what Lightning says.
But
Hope is like, but aren't they on this side as well? We can't relax just yet.
Yeah, and Lightning's like, right, so we press on. I'll take point and you watch our backs. And then we get an important moment for Hope.
Love it.
And us as the player, because he says, actually, why don't you let me take point? And Lightning's like, oh, can you handle it? And he's like, it's not a question of can or can't. And Lightning's just like, yeah, now you're learning. Keep your eyes front. I'll watch the rear. And he's like, got it.
You can't just repeat something I said and act
like a year ago. Yeah,
So I think I said last time that like my favorite thing of FF13 is Hope and Lightning's relationship with each other. Like it is my favorite part of this game, like by far, right? And what I love is that like we already have seen a little transformation of their relationship between like being two strangers, her being annoyed with him, to her kind of being like an older sister or even motherly figure for Hope. And what I like about this section and going on forward is they kind of become just friends. Like they just kind of become like equal friends.
Yeah,
and,
like we
I
get a
love
rare
that.
lightning smile when this is all going down. She like smiles at him like, oh, you're getting it. Like you're learning from me.
Yeah, and like over time as we go on, we hear her like be supportive of like what he's like his advancement in that way, like in his like ability to fight and take care of himself. But then she even like asks like if he's doing okay and stuff. Be like, oh, something's eating you. What's going on? You know, blah blah blah. We're partners on this. You know what I mean? Like I like that they kind of become equals in that way. I think it's like a very, very nice trajectory for both of their characters.
Yeah, it's really, really sweet.
It is very silly though because there is never any encounters behind us.
Yeah,
That's true.
It's nice, and I was very touched by it, and then I got horrified by it because I realized what the context in game means, where it says battle team changed, and then your party leader becomes Hope, which completely changes how this game plays. I think is this the first time that we haven't had complete control of Lightning when she was in our party?
There was one very small section, I think, where we were in charge of Saz. Yeah. But yeah, not like this though. Yeah. Although, you know what, Alex? You're right. There are no battles behind us because Lightning has been watching our backs.
Yeah, Lightning's taking down the huge fleet of enemies that just are spilling in the entire time. We do get a trophy here as well if you're playing on PS3, which is Instrument of Vengeance, which I assume is also an Xbox achievement.
Nice.
A couple things I wrote down for this scene here that I kind of took note of is that, one, I don't think it's at all a coincidence that the scene where we get Hope kind of just finally coming to terms with the situation that he's in and just taking, charge of, kind of moving forward with what he's been dealt happens immediately after we see the flashback where that has basically happened to Snow. Like, I don't think that that's an accident at all. Like, they both kind of have a scene where they have something. They're finally just like true. They have an issue, and then we see the scene where they accept kind of the issue that they got, and they're like, all right, we need to move forward. And I don't think that like dichotomy, especially between the two of them, is gonna like. I don't think that's like on accident. And then the other thing is that I think it's kind of interesting that like the main like problem that Hope is kind of carrying with him, being the death of his mother, and holding Snow kind of culpable for that, for being the one that puts the gun in her hands and then she kind of takes off, is that like Hope's kind of in a position now where like when he's taking the lead, like he's kind of doing the same thing that Mom is doing, right? Like where like he is realizing that like this is a time where I have to kind of leave my comfort zone of what I'm used to in life and kind of be a combatant. I need to be a strong individual or like a warrior in this kind of circumstance. So I think that's kind of important in that like if Hope can like embody and understand what his mom was thinking when she asked for the rifle, I think that will be important to like getting him to cope with this vengeance that he's kind of seeking and finding that solace in the inevitable reunion with Snow. And so I really like the kind of transition from end of chapter 4 to 5 here for kind of
I actually brought that up when Lightning is like, you can turn around right now and leave. Like it's basically the same thing. Snow's like, are you sure? Are you sure you like what you're getting into when you're hopping in? It's like he's just doing what his mom was doing. He's just like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that Lightning has pretty much like nothing but disdain for Snow. Like she, like we were saying earlier, she tolerates him. She's like whatever, but she like does not like him. She will fucking punch him as hard as she can, if she needs to. But like, she's also kind of accidentally, like I don't think she's intentionally trying to like manipulate Hope's emotions in a way to just be like, you are just like your mom, you have to see things from your mom's perspective. But she's like doing that. She's putting Hope in the same, again, I don't think it's like intentionally, but she's putting Hope in the same sort of situation that his mom was in, just on a different, on a whole different track.
Sure.
I imagine it's pretty complicated too, as Lightning is like, being in this scene, like Curtis said, like she kind of takes on like, some elements of like the mom type role here, but like just because of the way her personality is and how she does kind of have that very rigidness to her, I think there's a part of her that's like, you know what, I think you should fucking hate Snow. Like I do think that there's a part of me that's like, if you want to blame him, like I get it.
I wish my little sister hated him as much as you did.
I need you to hang out with my little sister. Yeah.
I was wondering about that. I was also wondering that like is Snow, or I'm sorry, is Lightning like not imprinting on, but it is Hope taking the place of Sarah because she didn't have a good last interaction with Sarah. You know what I mean? Like she's lost Sarah and lost the ability to be that to her. And so like Hope is now kind of that surrogate for that.
Maybe grieving or still trying to figure out what the fuck how to feel about, where, Sarah fulfilling her focus.
Yeah. Yeah, this game good.
The fact that he just like hates Snow's guts, probably she's like, yeah, fine, I can roll with this. I can work with this. I can fix him.
Well, yes.
Yeah, we go ahead, right, and we immediately meet some new and strange creatures.
We do.
We're on this like path, like it's really strange. Like I'm assuming these like once again kind of floating platforms like a hang edge, but it's more like a weird racetrack from Mario Kart. We're following these like light beacons at different like intersections or different like junctions to kind of help. I mean, I'm sure they're in games just kind of help us orient ourselves because the area is very
easy to get turned around on after a battle where you're just like, oh, okay, I was going back this way. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucking all the way back at the beginning again. I'm an idiot.
I like to turn my HUD map off just for the immersion because there's nothing else on the screen. It's very nice to take screenshots that way, but I had to turn it on a few times because I just got spun around.
Yeah, I don't even have that excuse. I have an arrow pointing at all times that I just refuse to look at, and then I'm like, oh, right, duh.
But we fight some these things called frag leech.
The frag leech. I like these guys.
They're like nudie branches, or nudibranch, I guess. They're like those little sea slugs.
Yeah,
I was going to say like urchins, yeah.
But yeah, they're kind of gross little red poisonous sluggos, right?
I also just like their like little jump animations they do. They're like,
I love it.
Fuck it, Geronimo! Like they just
I think
do
the
those
funniest
thing
is if they see you coming as you're running up, you're trying to get your preemptive or you're just trying to run into them, they do a jump over you and then try to attack you from the back.
Yeah.
Those freaking assholes jump on you.
It's good.
It'd be funny if that gave them a preemptive strike.
It
would suck because this game is rough enough with the battle system, but...
could you imagine? I was thinking that too. I was like, oh my gosh, if that was an aspect of this game.
Mm-hmm.
They just get your stagger bar almost max. They only have to hit you one time. Speaking of your stagger bar, let's go ahead and bring it up. I was streaming this game today, a couple hours ago, and Carl noticed while I was playing, I had Hope and Lightning in Medic, and they were healing each other.
Double dose,
and as that was
baby.
happening, like stagger bars popped up for my characters, for Hope and Lightning. I never noticed that before, but luckily, friend and guest of the show, Mr. Zwanzig, was there to be like, okay, you can't actually stagger yourself. The reason that's there is consecutive healing does more depending on how far that bar is up. So that's what your quote unquote stagger bar is for. And I was like, oh, okay.
Intriguing.
Pretty sick.
I noticed that too.
Oh, that does it. Yeah, nudie bronch. They're cute.
Yeah, I think there's there's those Pokemon that are based off of those as well. Yeah. I like how this one looks like he's got a little mustache.
Oh, he does. He had a little Snidely Whiplash. I like that.
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
Another cute thing about this section is a lot of like the field dialogue that Lightning has as you're running around is her just giving Hope pointers and encouraging him. And
she won't shut up.
Yeah, she talks more than fucking Navi in Ocarina of Time.
It's like now that she's a supporting character, like she will not like her silent phase is over.
Yeah.
It's like, be wary, but don't be afraid. Don't go chasing after enemies. It's a surefire way to get ambushed.
Whatever you do, do not go chasing waterfalls.
She's just making up for all the conversation that she neglected to have with Hope for like the days that they've known each other now.
This is like when I get service back and like all my text messages are coming through at the same time.
She's like, remember when I was telling you to keep 5 feet away from me at all times? I'm sorry. Let's end that. I'm sorry.
4 feet. It's fine. You can come a little closer.
Study your enemy's actions. That'll help you form a strategy. A lot of these are pretty basic.
One thing that really made me happy is I was trying to just like look at this really cool environment. Like the, parts of the road, just like the junctions that we were talking about, kind of break off, and they looked like they probably were full roads at one point, but then they, got destroyed. Right. So it's a very straight path, but I wanted to look at all of the environment, and I was kind of just like panning around trying to see everything, and Lightning just says, she's just standing there with her like hand on her hip, and she says, how long are you planning on standing here?
That's freaking perfect.
Oh, did we mention that this place is called the Gapra Whitewood Proto-Ecology Belt?
Oh, I didn't know. Proto-Ecology Belt.
I think Lightning mentions that this is where they make the like bioweapons.
Yeah, I think coming up later, we get deeper into it and we get a bit of an info dump on that.
This is where they make all the cyber cats.
Yeah, like the pantherons and stuff that we saw earlier on.
Yeah, and the creatures here are not augmented yet. Like they're wild.
Well, once we get lower, so at first they're still augmented.
Oh, okay.
On the upper levels, we are still interacting with the frag leeches are called that because they were engineered to be as such. Maybe they're eating all the cyber vegetation that's everywhere. Like, it's weird that there are trees everywhere that are made of like technology.
Yeah, all the like foliage of this jungle, quote unquote, is
all
technology.
The leaves look like Titus's brother blade and shit like that.
Yeah, it does.
You mean Waka's brother? Oh, Brotherhood. Okay, I thought you were like Titus's brother. I was like, Titus did not have a brother.
His Brotherhood blade. Yeah. Baby sword never used.
The Lorax had a heart attack when he played this chapter. He was just like, the fuck's up with all the trees?
What did you do?
You blew it. No, I think this is one of my favorite looking areas in the game. Like Carl was talking about Lightning making fun of him for standing around and staring at him. There's one thing that Zwanzig actually kind of got me in the habit of a long time ago after we had only known each other for probably like 2 years or so. And he did a stream where he was just like wandering around in 13 and he would just like get really close to a lot of just like the textures and just kind of like look at them. And this was one of the areas that after I had seen him do that I spent the most time doing that, just because I think there's just like a lot of pretty like pastel-y colors. You kind of talked about like
this game is very dense and it's really hard to extrapolate like exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah,
just trust us.
That's
why are you
funny
listening to this if you haven't played it also?
There's like things that if you the longer you look at them, the more they don't make sense too. Like
it is like that's wild. Like on the first glance, it just looks like a forest. But if you take like more than 2 seconds to look at anything, you realize that everything is just made of like technology.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's such a cool, unique aesthetic that I've never really seen before.
What's funny about that, I feel like, is that when I played this section, and one of my notes says, I think this is the most boring looking area that we've been to yet. I'm like, oh, this is the most lame area thus far. But it's not because of like
on a wide span, like it feels very boring, but on a macro level is very interesting.
I think the scope of it is considerably more contained than some of the areas you guys have visited earlier on.
With maybe it doesn't have
like even Vile Peaks and Brescia had like more verticality.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
Different,
I think the openness of Brescia certainly kind of gives you just like this like grandeur to kind of take in.
Yeah.
After being like almost like encased in like a super dark travel for the first 2 chapters, it's like after you get out of that, Brescia's just kind of like marvelous, I think is the word I would use to describe it at best. And then this is like considerably more self-contained.
It's very contained, and there's no landmarks, right? There's no like point that I can go to be like there is the road, the trees, the gates, and the elevators. And those are all the things that are here. There is nothing besides those things. And so, but those are very interesting. Like they're very nicely designed and very nice to look at. But like, there's nothing aside from them.
Those elevators are looking cool.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think the other thing too, to your point, is so you get to an elevator and you start going up and you're like, oh, maybe it's going to look different. And it's kind of just more of the same, at that point.
I noticed like, oh, cool, it's a little mistier up here. That's the only thing I noticed. It's a little grayer, less colorful.
I do like the cables, or like they almost look like tubes, like guitar amp tubes or something that are behind the elevators. But I think it's just like the circuitry or like the cables or whatever. But they're like glowing and they're very cool looking. It almost looks like they're covered with like a transparent shielding or something.
Yeah,
it's really nice looking.
I agree.
Eventually we hit one of these junctures and we get a little cutscene here where Hope is just kind of asking Lightning, he's like, hey, like, have you ever been here before? Like, like on duty or anything? And Lightning says, no, I haven't. This area is covered by the Woodlands Observation Battalion. Is that the one that you were mentioning earlier, Curtis?
Yeah.
WOB.
Yeah, I was thinking about the acronyms. I was like, oh, I hope one of these spells something funny, and none of them do.
But then Lightning just kind of like slowly like continues walking after saying that. Like that's the end of that conversation for her. She just turns around and looks at him and goes, "You scared?" Like she's not bullying him or anything, but that just sounds like such a bully thing to say.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Not really. I'm ready to fight if I have to."
And then she produces a small knife.
Yeah.
I guess it's a big knife because knives are usually small. So comparatively to most knives, it's actually massive. But it's smaller than her gun blade, right?
to keep you safe. I'll want it back.
I'm glad I followed you. By myself, I would have had no chance.
And she just kind of turns around and walks onto the elevator. And that's the end of that scene.
Yeah. Really
it's
nice.
really good.
It's a cool knife. It looks like it has a built-in cigar cutter because there's like a little loop on the
Yeah,
thing.
the
little loophole. Yeah.
So if you put a cigar in there, you can like trim it. You know?
That's the accidental index finger breaker.
Did you just imagine Hope just like having a stogie in his mouth?
But yeah, we get another lift, right?
Yeah, we get on our first of many.
Yeah, lightning kind of runs ahead like characters sometimes do, but I wanted to go and check for like, any treasures around here or anything and look at the environment a little more. So I got off the elevator and started walking around. I was like, oh, there's literally nothing, so let me go. And I went on the elevator and hit, activate, and only Hope was on the elevator.
Yes,
so I just left lightning down there. I was just like, oh
I did that
okay.
later when I was playing as lightning, and I was like, oh no, Hope!
We meet another enemy called a Vespid up here, right?
Yes. It kind of reminds me of the watch drones a little bit.
Yeah.
Wait, are the watch drones mechanized versions of these?
No, these are the Vespids are already mechanized.
Okay, never mind.
Because we'll see the unmechanized version. They are kind of like the bat things, and they look like they have like a little bladder of like very gross. It just has like a little like syringe at one end and like a sack, which I think it can like absorb your health. Right?
I was gonna say it may be poisonous because I kept getting poisoned this section over and over.
I think in here we also get a star pendant, which I think gives you 20% resistance to poison.
Yeah.
Which you can level up to have a higher percent resistance.
Abilities.
While you guys are looking that up, I'll also say that I used the pro strats from last episode about leveling up and how that level up system works with organic versus like mechanical ones.
Yeah.
And I was just testing it out. I was like, I got some materials to burn, let me try it. And I ended up like leveling up Hope's weapon from like level 2 to level 5 immediately, and then later I did the same thing with lightning to level 6 on her weapon. So I was kind of just cutting through these enemies like it was nothing.
Yeah. So the Vespid doesn't have poison attacks. It's not that. But it does have an attack called Flurry of Fire. And I think I but I died one time this time, and it was to Fury of Fire.
It's immune to launch. Speaking of launch.
Launch! Yo!
This is when I started using launch a lot. It's very fun.
Dude, it's all about just seeing how long you can keep those motherfuckers up there.
Yeah,
so good.
It's really nice.
Yeah, so later, I mean, we'll get to him, but we fight another alpha behemoth, and just like it just turns into a fucking game of like Super Smash Bros. Melee, where
I was thinking Smash Brothers, yeah.
You're just like she's launching this thing in the air, and every time you attack it, it just keeps it like basically stun locked 50 feet in the air. It's
so basically,
ridiculous.
if you're not familiar with what launch is, I think it's only for lightning right now. On Commando, you can get an ability called launch, where I thought it was just going to be like a technique or something, or an ability that we have to use, but it literally just is like a passive thing that when your enemy has a full stagger gauge and you're building up those chains and everything, you can kind of just run up to it, and the first attack will launch them into the air. The only time that doesn't happen is if they're already in the air, like if they're a flying enemy or something. But you just launch them in the air and they're just sitting there, and then they can't do anything while they're up there, so you can just really hammer in some damage, and it is really satisfying and extremely fun.
And each consecutive hit lengthens the amount of time that they're in the air. So like if you launch them, and then at this point Lightning has 4 ATB charges because she did get her Eidolon. So she can launch them and then hit them 3 times. That extends their amount of time in the air. And then if you're in a nice cycle with Hope will then do his magic after you land and are building ATB, which keeps it in the air for longer. And then you're ready to go again until you jump up and it's still in the air because Hope kept it there. And so you can just keep the enemy up there just as long as you can. It's great.
It's really, really fun. It's really interesting.
It's definitely considerably harder to do with just the 2 characters, but like later on when you have the ability in your back to having a 3-member party rather, like it's fun to just try to like time your person's inputs to like, just keep them rolling. It's
I think people were describing that as juggling, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
People kept saying juggling in my chat, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds fun.
It's wild having it. I think certain characters have like a launch resistance stat.
So there is a motorcycle that we fight later on in this area that we can't launch, but that's because it's already floating.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think like
it's like coughing because he can't be hit by ground type attacks.
You gotta use a grounding.
Yeah. Speaking of ground type moves, we can also unlock with Hope a move called Quake.
Quake.
And Quake uses TP. It's not just an ability, but it'll hit all the enemies kind of just in the area. So
I'm assuming if they're not floating. It's like Earthquake and Pokemon. I'm assuming it'd be like that.
I guess, yeah.
Like Vespids and Vespas, like them.
That's
an interesting. But it has like stalagmites.
Yeah, that kind of comes up off of the ground. Yeah, yeah.
It might still. Hit
cool.
Some.
It's a really useful ability for just like building stagger gauge.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
Our buddy Cloud was in my chat and he was like, "Oh yeah, a good way to use this is if you get a preemptive strike, just hit them with Quake, and then you just stagger everything immediately."
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
It's got that area of effect, and obviously with the preempt, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
that's a great idea. I didn't even think about that.
There's a few Vespids, quite a few of those frag leeches, more Thexterons,
the leveled up Pantherons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, we do eventually hit an alpha behemoth, which I had very little trouble with. Maybe it's because of my, super leveled up weapons, or maybe because Hope is really good at getting preemptive strikes, or at least was for me. I was just sneaking up on everything. So I snuck up on him, got a preemptive strike, and just like absolutely destroyed it.
I'm not gonna lie, I really thought you were gonna say because you're an alpha. Like I was like, Carl, no, don't do it.
Well-known Sigma gamer, Carl.
I don't know why, but like that was immediately when you were like, but I didn't really have any trouble with it, and I was like, oh no, Carl,
because I'm more alpha now. I need to invent a new type of man that just dropped and put up a YouTube video and get 1 million views.
Yeah, man. Dude. Toxic behemothlinity.
It'll be an Omega male.
I did find the Hawkeye, for Hope, which is a new...
yes, I immediately equipped that.
Official amateur competition model utilizes basic amp technology.
Oh, nice.
It's like more magic heavy.
Puts all your points in magic, baby. And I was like, oh, he's a Ravager right now, and he has all these like spells. Yeah, so like makes sense to me.
Does magic also help with like medic abilities?
I don't know that.
As far as I know, the answer is yes.
Good. I would hope so. That counts as a magic skill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I could look it up, but I won't.
I was really maybe to say I would lightning so, but
yeah. I was also trying to see if there was like a gag there, but no, it's magic if you're using Hope because he uses Cure, but it's actually based on the strength stat for Lightning because she uses Heal Strike and just hits you with the sword and gives you HP.
Yeah, you're just injured and she just slaps you with the broadside of her gunblade.
Yeah. But then we see another cutscene happens eventually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hope has good cat-like reflexes.
Oh, he's in the zone right now.
His spidey sense starts tingling.
Dude, you put him on point for 3 minutes, this shit's going down now, dude. He's got it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, what's the hubbub? And he's like, oh, yeah, we need to hide. And so they just quickly run underneath one of the cyber brush.
Cyber brush. Yeah.
And some of those floaty cycles that we've seen Snow and Godot fly around. I'm guessing they're park rangers just fly over.
Yeah, they're the fish and wildlife. They're making sure nobody's out here fishing without a permit.
Only you can prevent electronic forest fires.
But yeah, they zoom by and Hope's like, ooh, they don't seem like they're even looking for us. I mean, we're Lassie and we're on the loose. And Lightning says, Psychom's keeping it all under wraps. They don't want their failure publicized. Better to lose us than lose their pride. So I guess that means that even though she talks about this area being under like Psychom's, it's kind of Psychom's deal to take these creatures and mechanize them. I guess the what is it called? The environmental battalion or whatever here. It hasn't been told about the Lassies, like the failure of the containment. So they don't even suspect that Lassie are loose here.
Yeah. Yeah, basically just like infighting between the different branches and stuff, I would assume, or like not necessarily infighting, but being very separate and just being like, well, I don't want to tell the other fucking team that we fucked up because then they'll go and tell their superiors and then we'll be in way more trouble. So
Which is cool.
I didn't really see it as a pride thing. I found it more of a like, oh shit, like we can get in a lot of trouble if we. This is some real like Venture Brothers henchman shit.
I also just kind of see it the way I kind of read it. I guess kind of similar to what Carl kind of like reads into it. Is that like I feel like the whole notion of like this society or just like anything that kind of is like has like the elements of the dystopia is that just like any like like crack in the armor of like the oversight, like the body that's overseeing everything, I feel like just kind of gives like that exposure and gives way and rise to any kind of like notion of rebellion. And so I think that just like trying to sweep any kind of like fault or flaw under the rug is just considerably better for them, and just maintaining that presence and appearance, I guess. Sure. Kind of like if you think about how you guys talked about the purges, right? And how they paint them as when in reality we know that what they are, but then like the citizens are just like, oh yeah, like they're just sending these people to Pulse. I feel like anything that could make them look like they have done something that's not according to their plan or their design is just going to work against them.
They want people going to work.
Exactly, yeah. They want to keep like the natural order.
They don't want any
established.
panic. Yeah,
we don't want the economy to fail, so we gotta make sure people aren't working remotely.
5-day week, baby.
But I mean, yeah. If also, I'm sure like if the Lassie are running around a frickin' like contained forest, it's where there are no civilians at all. It's not really a big issue.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like, well, either they're stuck in there in containment, or they're gonna get eaten. So
eaten by what, I wonder?
Yeah, like who could say? Maybe a behemoth.
Maybe a behemoth.
But we do eventually come up on this very ominous looking kind of gate of sorts.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what to make of this area. I'm guessing it's just like two halves of this facility.
Did anybody look up? Are we under a ceiling at all?
I don't know if we're in a dome or anything.
I don't know if you can look up all that well.
It's hard to look up and down in this game.
I know that you can't really look down to the levels below you. I was trying to see if I could still see lightning.
Look up.
Yeah.
I was trying to see if I could still see lightning under the at the base of the elevator, but I wasn't able to get the camera in a good spot for that.
Yeah, it says experimental facility for conducting research into bioweapons, but it doesn't really say. Yeah, okay, this is into the data log to say that the paths winding through the trees are deliberately confusing, causing intruders to become hopelessly lost. So, like, I don't know if there's a ceiling or not. Okay, the screenshot in the data log does look like there is nothing above us.
Interesting.
But it is, like, very walled off, so, like Jurassic Park or whatever, except we're not on an island.
Oh my god, I made a comparison to Jurassic Park when I was playing this section, and because so we haven't talked about this yet. There's the pathway, and then occasionally we'll dip down onto the ground level, right? Where there are holding pens.
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet, but we will.
Oh, wait, do we? I thought we see one before we see the big gate, no?
No, I don't think so. There might be a brief change where the music changes as well. It's not the nice, comforting music that we have anymore. It's music for the other area. I can't remember if on the way to that gate, if that change happens at all. I remember being bummed, being like, "Oh, I just wanted to listen to that music for the whole the whole chapter."
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay.
Either way, but yeah, we do. When we come up on that gate, I think another cutscene starts, right?
Yeah.
Hope just asks, like, I wonder how the others are doing. And Lightning's like, oh, Saz and Vanille, who knows? Even if they got away, they'll get caught eventually. Then they'll have to choose, resist or surrender. And Hope starts thinking about Snow. Says, do you think he's still alive? And Lightning is like, you mean Snow? He's too stubborn to die.
And that's his best quality. He's arrogant and chummy from the get-go. He thinks he's everybody's pal. Never liked him much. He leads around a bunch of kids. Gang called Nora.
And Hope asks, like, where they get the name Nora.
Yeah.
It's a stupid acronym. Their little code stands for no obligations, rules, or authority. Must be nice.
Based.
Must be nice.
I agree with Lightning on that stupid acronym.
Yeah.
If you were like, based on that acronym, what is Nora? I would assume that they were like in some kind of anarchist group, but like I don't think that's what they are at all.
They're
just a bunch of punks.
They set up the Chaz zone in Bodhum. That is what no rules, dude. No authority.
You think Snow's just busting out his iPod and listening to like Turncoat by Anti-Flag?
Friend and past guest of the pod, Corey, pointed out that the localization team on this actually did a pretty good job because Nora is actually like a abbreviation for Norineka, which is like means stray cat in the Japanese version.
Mm-hmm.
So instead they're like literally called like the strays.
They call
It's
themselves
kind of
the strays, yeah, which I think in Japanese culture is a little more fitting for like military things, like stray military dog. I think you mentioned Full Metal Alchemist as someone being called like a stray dog all the time in that, and it's a similar sort of association that is kind of lost on the the English version of it.
Yeah.
So they just went with Nora.
And just before we move on, I just want to make a disclaimer for our homie Mr. Zwanzig. Anti-Flag is a punk band that, as their name suggests, Anti-Flag, write songs that they perform that are anti-government, kind of like the NORA acronym would, kind of line up. So there you go. I did your homework for you, Brim. For the record, just so you guys know, the one time that for some reason I made a music reference in the last episode I was on, I also made a disclaimer and explained it to Swansea explicitly. And so after I did the Anti-Flag thing, it was obviously not like planned or anything, but then I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of how this one's. I'm going to do it again.
Okay, and you were right, because after this scene, the next elevator that we get on, we go down to the bottom floor.
We go down.
The ground floor, yeah.
Did we already pass the bulkhead fal'Cie? Or are we coming up on that?
I think that's this, right?
Is that what this is? This door is a fal'Cie?
Yeah, there is a big door that Lightning says that is the bulkhead fal'Cie. And we also get a little title card of it.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the bulkhead fal'Cie. Stay on guard.
Didn't we, in one episode, joke that
there would be a door fal'Cie?
Yeah.
Literally. And then there's the thing that's blocking us to getting up to this part is just an alpha behemoth and two of the Pantheron Thexerons or whatever they're called. Which just makes the battle a little more difficult than the other one. And I wasn't able to get a preemptive strike. I didn't try using a Deceptisol or anything.
They run right at you from far away. They really do.
I forget the strategy that you do here. I think it's take down the Thexerons first because they're easier to take care of and then focus on the behemoth. But I did game over at one point.
Anyone that plays this game, by the way, and really doesn't like this game, like the FF13 haters, this game gets a superlative that I think is objectively true. And it's just best door design.
Yeah.
Dude, the three
best
doors
door design
that
since Dirge of Cerberus.
The three doors we have gone through in the last 30 minutes are all really elaborate and super cool designs.
Yeah.
They're pretty great.
Thanks, Kami Kokoro.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Best doors in the business.
But yeah. So as soon as we get to this area, there's an elevator on the other side. It takes us down to the wildlife paddocks. And this is where I have to say welcome to Jurassic Park.
Except for in this Jurassic Park, instead of normal biological recreations of dinosaurs, it's did you guys ever watch Zoids when you were a kid?
Yeah, I remember Zoids.
It would be if the pens were just filled with all the Zoids.
Well, this is a weird thing to me. So there's these they're called wildlife auto containment paddocks, right? And they're
weapon research site. I think
those aren't euphemisms at all.
But they're animal paddocks. They're little zones for animals to be in, like you'd see at a zoo, right? And there is a suspicious absence of something that you would find at a zoo or in Jurassic Park or whatever, which is just pathways between the paddocks. So there are just zones with these wild animals that the only ways in or out of them are by going through other paddocks of wild animals. There's no
is the elevator we go down is that even meant for people, or okay, no, this is where the weird cat goes down? We put the cats in the elevator.
I don't know. It seems so inefficiently made.
The cat's in the elevator and the silver spoon, and Little Boy Boo, and the man on Cocoon.
Well done.
Well played.
But yeah, we're in a nasty zoo.
We're in a nasty zoo.
We bought a nasty zoo.
We get a primer. We get a little tutorial about it that says these are open air pens, and the thing is that they sense that creatures are inside of them, and that's what keeps the gates closed. It's a
very elaborate way of saying beat the enemies to open the door like in Zelda.
Beat the enemies to open the door.
Yeah. It's a very wordy and militarized way of just saying,
This game is very wordy.
I like it, though. It's charming.
It's trying to give you a reason of why they're turning
It's funny, actually, how wordy it is, because the line that the fences are up when there's something in it is, fences deactivate automatically when the biorhythms for known high-risk species are no longer detected in their proximity. So.
Yeah, we have tactically ascertained that.
Attack when the fence is up. Got it. So we got some Pantherons, except they're fleshy.
The creatures without the robotics attached to them.
They're all Panther. They are 0 Ron.
Uh-huh.
They have the kind of the same skeleton. They just have like an actual eyes and mohawk. The mohawks were not added in post. Like that wasn't a SciComm design. They hit hard.
They can. Yeah.
I was commenting in the chat. I was like, SciComm made them worse.
They made them worse. Why? Yeah.
They should have left them as is.
That sounds pretty SciComm, honestly, from everything that we've heard about them.
They're like, okay, these things hit really hard, but the AI that they put into them are not.
I was thinking.
Par. I think they're more obedient.
Yeah,
as SciComm.
Yeah. Maybe the obedience takes away that primal fury that gives them the ability to like do so much damage.
Yeah, they put too much software on it and then left enough. Yeah. Either way, but yeah, they're gross. Like they're kind of hyena inspired. Looks like.
Yeah.
The silver lobos, I think, are the first ones we come up on.
Yeah, which I think lobo means wolf.
It's like a
Latin?
wolf. Yeah.
In Latin.
There's a lot of Latin in this game.
Probably. I think you're correct. Like I know that lobo is a word that literally means wolf, though. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even in Spanish it's called.
I was going to say, I think Spanish is why I know that.
Which is a Latin.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like,
Oh,
when you said, well, that's why I was like, when Carl said Latin, I was like, that's probably correct.
El Lobo.
Did we talk about the cute line between Lightning and Hope where he's like, oh, I guess civilians aren't allowed down here, and Lightning's just kind of like, oh yeah, we'll have to let them know if we see any down here.
I thought I was giggling at that. I was like, man, that's so good, dude. She's so sassy and just sarcastic at times. Like even whenever they were talking about the people like earlier looking for him, he says something like, oh yeah, there's I guess they're not looking for any fugitives, and she's like, yeah, they're not looking for any fugitives or something.
The vocal delivery of that line is so good.
It's pretty good.
Extremely sassy.
Like she's like starting to lighten up with Hope too at this point, and so I think that that it's kind of like wittiness and like playfulness is good.
She's hardening him and he's softening her.
I think of all of the characters in this game, I think the two of them are like the best for each other just over the course of like Curtis has said that he like really likes the scenes of them together. I think like as far as like the tandems and duos we kind of split up into, I think they're the two that I think do the most for one another. I think the other duos like it's kind of heavier one way or the other, but these two I think they're like really good for each other.
Sons of Anil are both just like, fuck it, man, let's just get out of here. They're just trying to.
Yeah, the ways Saz and Vanille,
their motives are pretty ambiguous right now.
I actually kind of feel like, obviously we'll get there when we get there, but I kind of feel like Saz and Vanille being together ends up not being good for either of them, like in some ways. So,
but yeah, we're fighting through here. We fight some crawlers, which are just the frag leeches without the augmentations. They don't have the cool little inflatable crown thing that goes on. But they are poisonous.
Yes, yeah, and I got poisoned constantly in this.
There is a whole mess of them at one point that we need to obviously clear out.
I think I fought like 9 of them at once.
Yeah, we have to clear them out.
Pack, yeah.
Oh my
God
gosh.
damn.
Did any of y'all fight the? Oh, what is it called? It's the Vespid, but unaugmented.
Yeah, the gross Vespid. Which, you know what? They when that enemy comes in, I forgot what it's called, but we see the unaltered form of the Vespid. It's usually by itself or with some weaker enemies.
Sometimes it's guarding an object, guarding
objects.
A chest.
I didn't think it was that hard. Like I went through it and kind of just took it down real quick without it being able to do anything. And I was like, "What's the deal with that? Why are they presenting it in such a way that you should be terrified of this thing?"
I mean, it looks scary.
It does look. It do look gross. Its little bladder sack's all red and nasty.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Love to fight an enemy with a bladder.
I think it's called the Barbed Spectre.
Barbed Spectre. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, it has like more skeletal and like it looks more, goth and spooky looking.
Yeah.
Also, like the HP on some of these enemies, I'm always curious who decides what their HP should be, because sometimes they're just a very solid like X something thousand.
Oh yeah,
but this one is like 9,009 HP.
It's like the it's what's it called? Whose line is it anyway? Like the points don't matter. They're just like fuck it. Like, the levels don't matter. The HP doesn't matter. The timer that you get
spells
doesn't matter.
Boob upside down.
I wonder if they just did it like, you know, kind of reductively, where they're like, all right, hey, I'm gonna play this fight, and I'm gonna fight this enemy for a minute and a half, and the amount of damage I do, we're just gonna call that the HP. Like,
I wonder. Yeah.
There are some enemies that just have like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Like as their HP. But yeah, this one, the specters definitely inflict poison.
Yeah.
So as we're going through this area,
I think as a combo too, one of the enemies has a move that they only do if there is a target that's poisoned.
Oh, really?
So it's like an interesting combo thing. So
interesting. I didn't know that.
That's definitely not the first time that would be the case for an enemy in a Final Fantasy game, so that makes perfect sense.
The crawlers are the ones that drop the gummy oil.
Oh yeah, the gummy oil.
Gummy ship
the
oil.
only way that you would know it was gummy is
Carl's whip.
Yeah. Also, if we're going through this area and we're fighting everything, like if you take every battle, you'll have enough Crystarium points to buy everything by the end of this section. Like before your Crystarium expands, you'll be able to completely fill out the Crystarium. And during we can unlock slots now for additional accessories. So we can have more than one accessory at this point. Very nice. And there was a thing I was wondering that I asked Mr. Zwanzig today as he was watching my stream. At the end of sections of the Crystarium, there will be nodes that you can learn called roll levels. I was like, what is a roll level? Because it doesn't seem to give you anything. There's no like skill associated with it or anything.
Yeah, it doesn't take you to like a new part of the sphere grid or anything that unlocks new abilities, and it doesn't like level up fire to Fira or anything.
Right. And I was like, what's the deal with that? Why would I want to learn that if it doesn't do anything? And he told me that it increases the effectiveness of that class or that role that you're using. So if you're like a commando, it'll increase the amount of like stickiness the stagger bar has, or whatever the thing that commando does. Ravengers will build more stagger per attack when you roll level them up, and et cetera, as you go down. Synergists and saboteurs, their stuff lasts longer.
It's interesting too. I feel like the commando versus Ravager in terms of how chain stacks isn't necessarily explained, or at least not explained well, in the way that Final Fantasy XIII explains things, because I didn't know that there was that difference between Commando and Ravager, and it was just kind of like every battle I'd be like, oh, okay, well this enemy might have a resistance to Commando, so I shouldn't use Commando. And then I saw like in the boss battle that we're coming up to, I had to redo several times and still haven't beaten it, and part of it was like one time when I was doing the fight, I didn't notice why, but the stagger bar was staying pretty set, so I was able to get up to stagger, and then other times I was just doing Ravager the whole time and it wasn't doing that, and I was just like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. Sorry, I know Commando has like, I don't know what to call it. I always call it stickiness, because like it's like the stagger bar doesn't decrease.
Yeah. That's a good way. I mean, I think people that have been following along with the game, they know exactly what I mean. But kind of what you're saying, like the first couple times I played the game, I just thought the roll level was like a toll you had to pay. That like when you got to a certain point, you had to pay a toll of CP to then be able to kind of grow. And it wasn't until much, much later that I learned that there was any benefit to like actually spending the points on them.
And like significant benefit too.
Yeah, because I think after certain boss battles or certain chapters, it will say that the Crystarium was expanded. So you don't have to upgrade the roll level for that to happen. It'll just happen on its own. But it's worth it because it does.
It is going to be, obviously, it's going to be a requisite transition that you have to buy that spot, that node at some point. But yeah, you don't have to do it to get the expansion.
Right. We come up on a cutscene.
That's right.
We have a kind of introduction to the feral behemoth, in which we kind of cross a certain threshold and then we're trapped in, and Lightning is like, caged like animals.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's like incidental dialogue, or
it's kind of a mini boss, like introduction, like, oh shit, this thing's mean looking.
Yeah.
And it's a really mean looking. It's a behemoth, but it's like covered in fucking leather and has teeth and shit.
So this is the feral behemoth. Its thing, I guess you could say, is compared to the alpha behemoths that we've been fighting that have to charge before they unlock the ability to use heave. These can just use heave anytime they want. So like the special attack of the behemoths is just unlocked from the get-go, and they can just ruin you.
Looks like a street shark. Y'all ever watch Street Sharks?
Oh yeah.
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
I mean, with launch, it wasn't too much of an issue.
With launch, it's not an issue at all. You just keep them up in the air, and you're just like clowns.
It is funny when that happens, and then one of your party members get launched, and you're like, "Oh God, that's how that feels."
Yeah, the heave attack does that, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I remember that from 10, just getting launched by behemoths. Is weak to fire. No, wait, it's weak to water, I should say. But it does also use water attacks. It's interesting. But yeah, after that, I think we do just get a few more cutscenes with. Do we go up from the floor?
Yeah. We go up and down several more times, and it's all like relatively uneventful, with the exception of these cutscenes. Everything else is pretty much what we've seen already.
Yeah.
More enemies, some objects here and there. I'm trying to remember if I found anything cool.
I think there was a weapon for lightning, a new blade for lightning.
There is.
Oh, right.
Is the edged carbine.
The edged carbine. There's another one. There's actually a cool section I like where a room is kind of divided horizontally. Like a feral behemoth is trapped behind the gate, but there's still a gap that you kind of slide behind it. So you can fight if you want.
Yeah.
Or you can just kind of...
It's like an optional fight.
But it is guarding 1,500 gil.
Yeah, which is a significant amount in this game.
Yeah. I will say one thing about this game. You know, much like real life, when I was playing it as a 19-year-old college student, this is like the most poverty run of a Final Fantasy casual playthrough, because there's, you guys, you know, you've talked about how there's no gil drops. So like, this is like the game where like getting a gil chest is like a huge deal. Especially early in the game, whenever 1,500 gil is like a lot of money, just because it's so hard to come by outside of, you know, getting credit chips and stuff to sell.
Well, you know, I sold all of my credit chips during this section of the game that I've made up to this point in the game, and I got 1,000 gil for it. So this one treasure chest is more than that.
And I'm assuming that you've fought every enemy at this to this point, right? Like, think about it. Like, you got $1,000, and then you find this chest that's, you know, 150% of that. Like, that's a pretty nice find.
This game.
There's a lot to this section.
Let's go ahead and get into these.
Like, there's a point where I think after we fight the frail behemoth, it's like, oh, the woodland battalion or whatever is coming. I think WOB, what is it, Wildlife Observation Battalion or something like that. And like Hope is like his real hard ass, like, let them come.
Yeah.
Listen, first scene, he's like, I want to take points. Second scene, he's like, I got this. Third scene, he's like, baby, bring it.
Yeah, he's got a thirst for blood now.
Well, he's got his knife, right? And he's like ready to just cut someone's fucking carotid artery. Like, he's...
Yeah.
It's too much.
I do like, as we like, he does start like fidgeting with that knife as all the cutscenes continue, right? Like, on to the next couple chapters, he's like fixating on getting his revenge with this fucking knife.
Yeah, he's just whispering to it, this is almost too easy.
I think a little bit after the behemoth fight, we climb up some like of those like ferns and kind of hop up to like the upper level again, like not using a lift. And I think that is like around where the this cutscene starts.
Take 5. What's eating you? Okay, I can tell you're hung up on something. Is it the lassie thing?
Is it the lassie thing? You worried about that?
You worried about that old thing?
Yeah, that's nothing.
It's snow, isn't it? And then, that stirs a reaction out of Hope, very obviously.
Yeah, Lightning has no idea why he's so hung up on Hope.
She doesn't have context. I think Vanilla is like the only one who knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, what happened with him? And he's like, you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, and she says, you and I are partners, Hope. And I was like, ooh,
very nice.
Love that.
Very sweet.
My mother was killed because of him. And we do get flashes, of course, just to remind you what happened. Her joining, picking up the gun, falling, and all that stuff. And just really lingering on that smug, punchable face of Snow, because it's like goes to his like DreamWorks smile.
Yeah, with his little fuckboy smile.
Yeah.
Bites his lip a little.
It's his fault, and he needs to pay for it. I'm not ready yet, but I will be soon. Like, that's why I followed you.
I like how he's just banging it against the
That's
ground.
right. He
too.
just
Lightning's like, that fucking shit's that I told you I want that back.
I want
Stop
that back,
fucking
yeah.
denting it. Like, you're denting the
It's like,
head.
I'm going to dull this shit out of your knife.
Immediately has buyer's remorse of letting him fucking borrow it.
But yeah, he's just doing a very little kid thing, which is like, oh, I'm definitely gonna use this for. He's like, I'm not ready yet, but I'm gonna be, and he like flicks it out and then he puts it back in and stuff, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
You ever let people borrow your CDs and they just like throw it loose in their backpack? It fucking pissed me off.
No.
My Corn Big Greatest Hits Volume 1 got fucking ruined because no one put it in a case.
You're just like, dude, Freak on Unleashed skips now. Thanks.
Dude, I burned that one special, and it has the MTV Unplugged version of it where Amy Lee from Evanescence is singing along to that song, and now it's not playing. I got 3 viruses off of Kazaa when I downloaded that. What's your fucking problem?
Incredible.
But yeah, he kind of goes on and just says to Lightning, like, that's why I followed you. Like, he wants to toughen up. Like, Snow dragged us into this. You, me, your sister Sarah. And it's like, oh, you fully don't understand the situation at all, Hope. Like, Snow has become the fixation of your obsession with this. Like, understandable, you're grieving, you're going through all this, but like,
this is a lot like Titus is when like, I'll never be a replacement for Chapu, and Lulu's like, shut the fuck up. Like, this is what you're talking about.
Shut up.
Yeah, like he's pretty much just like, oh, the only way that my grief can manifest is by focusing it on someone to blame, and the only person that makes sense is Snow. Like, he's trying to get Lightning on his. She's like, he dragged your sister into this and stuff. And it's like, as we know from the previous scene, it's the exact opposite of that. But
she didn't say anything.
Hope is like, he's got to pay, and Lightning kind of just like stops and looks at him, and then we get a team change, and we can be Lightning now.
Yeah,
which is very nice.
It's like, all right, I'm in charge again.
Yeah, she's like, maybe I shouldn't have given this kid my.
All right. It kind of makes sense, right? Like, you follow the cutscene where Hope's like, all right, I'm ready to take on like more responsibility. I'll take point, and then we control him. And now he's kind of reverted back to, his mindset before that scene. So I think the switch, I do think it's a really, really nice thing that they've done.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. It just lines up with where Hope kind of is, at each of those junctures, right? Like, the moment that it seems to be kind of grasping some of the reality of the situation and, embraces some of the responsibility. And now he's kind of reverted back. And so now we're like, all right, I'm taking point again.
He's being a little shit.
Yeah.
Him holding the knife is like, he's got to pay. It just like reminds me of those like just cringy kids. It's like, I can be your angel or a real psychopath.
I can be your angle or your
Lightning's like, I want Hope, kid who brings home bumper stickers that says my kid's an honor student or honor roll student back, right? Like that's the Hope she wants. And now she's got little shit Hope.
But we're Commander Ravager, I think. Well, yeah, she's leader, so I guess we could just do whatever we want.
Yeah.
But we end up hopping back down, right?
We hop down and then we kind of hop back up. There's a couple battles here. I don't think any of them are too noteworthy. It's not like they're really throwing anything at us that we haven't seen already.
Oh, yeah, this is where you pointed out, because I think you maybe went to the shop where you point out the cool logo of the Lenora's garage, which has like a cool...
Oh yeah, all the shops when you actually go to them have really interesting logos, and the one for Lenora's garage is fantastic.
I do like it.
It looks like a Moogle in like a ski mask or like a...
I don't know how to describe it.
It's like a kid robot like toy or something. Like, it's very stylized and very graffiti kind of style. Like,
I said it had very like Pissing Calvin energy. Like, it just has this kind of edgy skate. Like, they just sell like junk, right? Materials that you can use for crafting.
It's all materials, yeah.
But yeah, we keep cruising through the basement area of this, fighting more Lobos, more combinations, like you said. But the area is kind of homogenous for the most part, especially on the lower level. You can't it's pretty dark. I sometimes didn't even see some of the enemies. We do hop back up on the upper level, and we come up on a fallen like fern in the middle of the road. We could easily just step over.
Yeah, or like sidestep.
I like that Lightning cuts it down and it like kind of falls apart with the like rigidity of cotton candy. It just kind of
just shatters. Like, it's pretty cool. But yeah, like Hope is like, can I get one of those?
Yeah, it's about her gunblade.
And she's like, oh, it's a bit too heavy for you.
Okay.
Yeah, he just goes, okay.
He pulls out his knife. We don't even get to use it in battle. He keeps pulling it out, but...
No, ceremonial only.
Yeah, but as he pulls that out and kind of like, takes the blade out, Lightning kind of just looks at it and like starts thinking back to where she got it. Which we alluded to this before because this was in our inventory since we first had control of the game. It was called Lightning Survival Knife. Yeah. And it was told that it was given to us for her birthday. So we get a nice little shot of, as much as I talk about how good this game looks, this food kind of looks like shit. Like it's like there's like a salad and stuff, and it's like very low texture.
Okay, hold on. Before you start talking about the salad, let me just say the scene opens up. We're looking at a bunch of food splayed across a table. Okay, that's the beginning of the scene.
Yeah, it says day 12, the seaside city of Bodhum, and we get a picture of what I'm assuming is the laziest salad I've ever seen, which is just some
a head of lettuce that was barely chopped up, and then like
tomatoes and celery,
tomatoes on top
some
of
celery
it.
sticks on top of it, or some shit. I think that's fish on a plate, like some sort of protein.
Yeah.
But I like the like cornucopia looking thing with it too, though.
Yeah. There's a cake.
There is a cake. Oh, there's like a little soup.
Remember when 15 was in development, they were like really showing off. Like you can really tell that they were really like working on trying to make food look good.
Bro,
they had
the food
to
at 15 looks so good.
They had to so that they could get that sweet cup of noodles money.
I'll also say this too, is that like everything I know about Lightning kind of makes me think that she would not be all about having like a fucking birthday party at all. There is no universe in which Lightning is down to blow candles out. Like
I can't see it.
She's not wishing on any fucking fireworks.
The way she framed it to her superior is like, my sister insisted on it. Like,
my sister insisted
like,
that I take off for my birthday. I was just wanted to work.
Yeah, Sarah's like, come home from the army. It's your birthday.
Get a day off from army.
She's like, all right, I guess.
But yeah, it opens on just Lightning just already chewing into what we knew as transpired.
Sarah and Snow are standing in the scene and they're both just looking so fucking like crestfallen.
Also,
they're just looking at their shoes. They're super bummed and she's just ripping into them.
Sarah's like, I can't believe my wish didn't come true. Where Lightning didn't say the meanest thing on the planet when I told her very sensitive news about me. But Lightning says,
that's right. You're right. The thing that she says at the end of that is she wishes that she could tell Lightning the truth.
I mean, she did. She should have wished that Lightning would take it better.
Yeah, I know.
You became a lessee, so now you're gonna marry this idiot? And you think I'm gonna buy that? Full points for originality.
I like the lessee thing is like not the major. Yeah. That's not the worst thing that you told me. Like, all right, you became a lessee, and that means you have to marry Snow. You could just be a lessee and not
I love
marry
that this
him.
is like, so this is kind of interesting too, because I didn't think about this when it was happening, but it kind of shows that Snow's wish is at odds with Sarah's a little bit, because she was kind of like, I just need to tell Lightning, maybe she'll know what to do or whatever, and Snow's like, oh well, we got way bigger news to tell her. Let's tell her about our engagement too. And because of that, Lightning's just like, I refuse to believe any of this shit. You're just going the most extreme way because you know I fucking hate this dude's guts. But she says like, and you think I'm gonna buy that? Full points for originality.
Yeah.
Who writes this shit?
Yeah, she said, but don't forget, if you really are a lessee, it's my job to deal with you, which, like, Sarah's like, sis, and she's like, oh god, this is ridiculous. This is the worst birthday ever.
Worst birthday ever.
Yeah, and then like Sarah's obviously shaken up about that, and she just like runs out of the room, and Snow goes after her. He's like, wait, Sarah. Or he's about to go after her, but he turns around and just flips out on Lightning a little bit.
Also, on a weird aside, I do like that even though this is like everyone's like special day, everyone's always wearing the same exact outfit. You think Lightning would have like some casual wear for her birthday when she's not on duty?
Dude,
well, she's always in
uniform. No, I believe it. Well, yeah, Lightning is always in work mode. Like, I believe this.
What I was gonna say is that I think we have Sarah's reaction that Carl was just talking about, and I think that earlier, Sarah thinks the conversation with Snow is going to go one way, and she's wrong. Like, he gets kind of thrown off, but then he chases after her and, makes things right and like, makes it clear that he's going to be there for her and support her. Here, I think that after the conversation with Snow, I think Sarah's kind of anticipating like, oh, well, maybe Lightning will be understanding too.
Maybe.
And then,
Yeah,
then when that is obviously not how it goes at all, like she fucking runs away.
She's obviously has a better moral compass than Snow. If Snow will just come around, then definitely my sister will.
Yeah. and so I think
But
that
he's also
kind
of an idiot though, so.
Yeah, so she's kind of made the same like misjudgment twice now, and I think that it's hitting her really hard this time, especially because Lightning is someone that, she obviously confides in and trusts deeply.
This is a thing that I didn't even realize until reading the data logs after this, where like they're pretty obvious about it, but like I kind of had this. They were building up to this for a while. I had this interaction in my brain as something completely different where Lightning's like, oh, well, you're an enemy or whatever, like however it was going to go. But she just straight up refuses to believe that the l'Cie thing is true. And she's like, that's just an excuse for you to try to marry my sister or whatever. And she's like, oh, you kidding me? She gets made a l'Cie and you pop the question. And Snow's like, dude, stop it. Like, Lightning does the really cool action movie thing. Like, you listen to me. No, you listen to me. She's like, no, you stop it.
Get out of my house.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
They both slam the table. It's
It's really good. Again, the Joss Whedon energy is off the charts. But Snow's like, yo, you're shutting her out and she's your sister. And
she doesn't say anything to that.
Like, Lightning just doesn't say anything. She kind of just turns around. Yeah, she pouts. And then he's like, fine, I'll do it.
Snow leaves, but we get kind of in the foreground a close-up of a present that is left behind. Presumably from Sarah and or Snow.
It is from Sarah, yeah. I was wondering that too, because I'm like, did Snow give Lightning that present? And then Lightning gave the knife that Snow gave her to Hope, who was going to use that knife to kill him. Like, that's very Shakespearean. That's very, like, poetic.
Sarah's like, I'll just sign it for both of us.
Yeah, exactly. But it is from Sarah, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, this cost all of my money, but don't worry, I'm not going to need it anymore. This whole l'Cie thing, like,
this cost 300 gil, which took me 7 years to earn.
This is the thing, yeah. She picks the knife up, she unfolds and says, how practical, which I love because I feel like that's like Lightning's thing, right? Is that she's kind of like, she's not an emotional person. She is just practicality as a human being.
She's like, thank God this isn't a fucking thoughtful gift. I hate those.
Exactly.
I only want a practical gift. She's like, I will be wanting a toaster for my birthday, not something that I care about and brings me joy.
Yeah.
I could use this, yeah. Could have just gotten a gift card.
Yeah.
But then we get the news bulletin that's basically, just an urgent sanctum bulletin about how officials have confirmed the presence of a pulse fal'Cie inside the city of Bodhum.
Acting with fal'Cie Eden's approval, authorities declared a state of emergency. The entire district will be quarantined in response to this crisis.
So again, convenient that the, malevolent fal'Cie Eden is saying, oh yeah, no, we sign off on everything that Sanctum has to do.
And that's when, like, you can see kind of like Lightning looking at the TV and then like down and then like looking around and like realizing that like, holy shit, Sarah is right. Like, this really did happen.
Yeah. So it actually goes back to, current Lightning, and she's kind of just looking down and she says, Sarah, I should have believed you. So
my gosh.
Sarah never even had the conversation with Lightning about being a l'Cie that she thought she would. Like, Lightning just didn't believe her. So
right.
And I think the next time that Lightning sees her, presumably, is right before she turns to crystal. So whereas Snow had that nice character redeeming moment of being like, I don't care, I'll fight by your side. Lightning probably would have had that same reaction if she took it seriously.
Yeah.
But like, didn't get that.
Yeah. And I can kind of understand too, right? Like, what were we talking about where like these people who live in this world have this idea of what a l'Cie is and what a pulse fal'Cie is, and like being in constant terror of it, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody was like, hey, if I like a bomb just hit the middle of the city, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, that's so outlandish that like it would take time to be like, oh my God. But because everything happens so fast and like they're already quarantining the city, and this is like day 12?
Mm-hmm.
So like the next day is the day she gets on the train. So like immediately the game begins. Like, I kind of get it where it's like she just had that one moment of disbelief of like, oh, this can't be real. Sarah ran out of the house and she never got a chance to talk to her about it.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, it's so rough.
I hate having the news on during parties.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's a real buzzkill.
God, that's another extremely lightning thing. She would just have the fucking news on
Ever
at her
diligent.
birthday party. I love it. I love how much of a fucking wet blanket she is. It's great.
That's so good.
I want to work on my birthday. She's like Peter Griffin's dad.
I don't even know that it's so much as like, necessarily just wanting to work so much as just doing fucking anything that's not going to a birthday party for herself. Like,
True.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Also, the apparently the blades for some, I guess it's just a model, but it just says OP148 on the blade. Not on the blade, but the little circular part. I was hoping it was like a personalized gift, like an iPod. Laser etched. But
it says on it, "To Bill, the only man I'll ever love."
To my world.
I was gonna say it says to Jamie, my world.
We got to track down that copy.
Listen. Did I say this already on the podcast? I forget. Listener, if
to my girl in my world, love from Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah, if you know where the To My Girl and My World copy of FF13 is, let me know.
Jamie, you should have given her FF8. Wouldn't have ended up at GameStop.
It's actually CEX, British video and game exchange shop.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, okay.
Fucking Jamie.
But yeah, I think that's where we're calling it for tonight.
Yeah,
I believe so.
Begin and end with a Sarah and Snow shitstorm.
Yeah.
There was only a dog in one end, so obviously we're...
So that was the better one.
And Muttski, if you want to tell us the thing that you wanted to tell us at the beginning of the episode, even though we didn't get that far, we could probably just drop that in next.
Or you can come
episode.
back next week.
All right,
it's up to you.
First, what I got here. Okay, so this was the first thing I did. All right, so I told you I was going to prepare for this podcast a little bit differently this time, and that's not untrue. And because of what you guys have been talking about this several episodes leading up to this, I spent $2.99, and on Amazon Prime I rented the 2015 Will Smith movie Focus and watched that. And I didn't finish the entire movie because it was not particularly good, and there was a redeeming moment where a grown man hits Will Smith's character in the face, and I was like, this is awesome. And then after that, I made a list of, I went through the 5 playable characters we have, and I gave them all like a senior superlative that I'd like to share. All right. So for Hope was the most difficult. I changed his several times, but I settled on least likely to actually use his own switchblade. Snows, I named him most likely to invest in NFTs.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And then if you read between the layers here with his voice actor Troy Baker, who had like an NFT thing for a while.
Really?
He has since backed out of it. He doesn't. Yeah, he said he's not doing the NFTs anymore. But all right,
good.
We'll
let that slide, Troy.
Vanille is the Bass Pro Shop coupon queen. With her like get up and her stuff. Yeah. Lightning is most likely to fight Brock in Pokemon Yellow using only Pikachu. Like refusing, just refusing to do anything else. She's like, no,
quick attack.
And then Saz is the most wholesome. After I considered all of the other Final Fantasy dads of the games that you guys have done your seasons of, and I've nominated Saz the best Final Fantasy dad of the every FF episodes that exist so far. So there you go. All right, and then the thing I was gonna say, so it's called the Aster Protoflorian, right?
Yes.
Protofloridian, yeah.
Yeah, Protoflorian. Basically, so the guy that I was reading the thing of, I don't know if any of you watch NFL football, but
Go Birds.
There's this running back for a long time who was really good, who was called Adrian Peterson. And the guy that wrote the guide was like, I'm gonna refer to Aster Protoflorian as Adrian because his initials are AP, and I'm a Vikings fan. And the whole time I'm like reading this kid's thing, he just keeps calling it Adrian, and I was like, that's so fucking funny. Like, this kid made his own bit, and he was like, I'm committing to it in a fucking game facts.
Oh, that's so good.
That's so awesome.
That's what's great about GameFAQs is it like they had kind of an audience in mind when they were writing things like that, and they're like, oh, I can be funny. Like sometimes that could be disastrous. I've read some really awful GameFAQs thing where gamers use words that gamers think are okay to use, and it's not.
That's true.
And you're like, oh, this is from 2003. I guess that makes sense that an idiot would be saying that kind of stuff just publicly. But sure, whatever. But there's also stuff like that, like just incredibly wholesome things that they were expecting maybe 300 people max to ever read. And now we can immortalize it on the podcast.
I do love a way too specific walkthrough from like GameFAQs, like ones that like go a little too far down the comedy rabbit hole, where you're like, you get to the boss description and you're like, it is paragraphs of gags. I just need to know how do I avoid the laser attack. That's all I want.
That is the gamer's version of trying to look up a recipe for something you want to cook, and it's just like a whole fucking novel about the family that is like the author is cooking it for you. Like, I don't fucking care. Just tell me how many goddamn eggs I need to buy.
Well, thanks so much, Muttski, for coming to Change Discs with us.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. I obviously, like I said, I was really excited to hear that you were doing 13 this time. Last season was Dirge of Cerberus, which is also a game that not a ton of people are particularly passionate about, that I also really enjoy. So you guys have been
we're just trying to alienate people as fast as we can.
I feel like we really hit the iron when it was hot. Yeah, because like now, like the FF was this year's FF Relay the first time Dirge was part of the race?
It's the second time it was in the race, but it is certainly not in it every time though.
Shout out to our friend Dan for just killing it. I think he hit world record like the week before that. That's great.
Yeah, and then his run in the relay was like 30 seconds off of that. Like it would be the world record if he didn't just get the world record. I've known Dan for amazing. I've known Dan for a very long time, and he's just a really, really good guy, and he's obviously more passionate about Dirge of Cerberus than like anyone else that walks this earth. So
I was gonna say you said that not a lot of people are passionate about Dirge of Cerberus, but I feel like the community that is passionate about Dirge of Cerberus is like extremely pound for pound more passionate than like anything else, like in like the best possible way. Like, it's so cool to see all the love that game gets.
Yeah, it's actually funny because like there were 3 or 4 past guests who did run in the Final Fantasy Relay, so that was like very cool.
We'll get to the rest of you.
We'll get to the rest of you. Shout out to Camper for doing what essentially was a world record run, but didn't record locally or with loads removed, so can't submit it.
Yeah, I think they were doing a no sphere grid run, right?
No sphere grid run, yeah.
Oof,
wild,
what a doozy. But yeah, I think that'll be it for this week. Bookending it again, like I said, with more Sarah content, and we'll get to Adrian next week. You're welcome back anytime, Muttski.
Oh, hey, I look forward to what games you guys do next, and just hanging out and following along as you guys finish up 13.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Swanzig, as usual, Swanzig will be our corrector. I've been giving him advanced copies of our podcast if I can keep up, just to help correct us.
Yeah, if you, we always invite people to join the Discord or whatever if they would like to, and obviously, like, you don't feel required to, but every episode that we've done thus far, the day after it comes out in the Discord, Zwanzig has made a nice info dump of like, so here's the things that you kind of got right and kind of got wrong, and here's like what you didn't know about this or forgot to mention. Like,
I should just pin all those for future listeners.
Yeah, we should just do an episode where we just read through all of that, and if we don't have Corey on for an episode to kind of give us a whole localization, thesis or something, which he could definitely do, we could just like read all of those as well, because he's already brought up a lot of really interesting thematic things that are different between the localizations. So between that and Zwanzig, it's like, the extended universe of the podcast is way, way stronger than just the podcast itself.
Awesome. Well, yeah, hey, thanks again for having me, guys. Like I said, I was excited to kind of be able to get back into 13, aside from just following the episodes after the FF Relay stuff was up, so it was a good time. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a pleasure to have you.
Congrats for nailing slots.
Yeah.
When are you guys gonna come draft some games with us?
I gotta do that soon. I think after October I should have a little bit more free time. So
have we mentioned the draft on the podcast?
I don't know.
We've mentioned that it's a thing.
Yeah, I think we have. Curtis has mentioned it anytime there's been like new episodes coming out or something.
Yeah. Which, if you didn't know, Muttski and I do a podcast called the VG Draft, where every episode we take a year in video games and we kind of do a football draft, like a fantasy football draft of like the best games in different categories, and at the end we put them up on Twitter and let people vote for them and see who had the best draft, and the answer is always Muttski.
and with the exception of Zwanzig, we always make the guest go last, so
that's true. Yeah,
good stuff. Cool.
It's a blast. I love listening to it. It's nice kind of seeing games and like, I mean, I do it all the time when I'm looking into like the new game we're about to play, like, okay, what was like happening in the culture, but like getting a slice of like all of your guys' favorite games from a specific year is always kind of fun.
It's nice because sometimes like there's not necessarily games that I like care particularly a lot about, but then there's games that I'm like, I think this is an important game. Like when I drafted, for instance, like the Wii Fit, and I talked about how I think that was just important to kind of lead into like the notion of like kinesthetic video games. Like it's not a game that I really care about, but I do think it's like a big one, and so it's cool to kind of like talk about, you know, kind of both, I guess. But yeah, check out the VG Draft. It's kind of shit, but you know, Curtis and I, we have a good time. So.
Yeah, Swanzig was on like 2 episodes ago or 1 episode ago for 2007.
Yeah, it would have been two ago. Yep.
You know, 2 of us. You know, so there's a whole episode there for you to listen to some friends on.
Yeah. All right, thanks again. I appreciate it, guys.
I can't wait to be on the episode for 1889, so I can draft the Hanafuda, the flower cards that Nintendo made to start off their company.
Well, Alex, would you like to cease our biorhythms so that the paddock containment can open and you can advance?
I would love to. Thank you to Masashi Amauzu, especially for this level's game music, the Gapra Whitewood.
It's good.
Very chill. Ethereal, as always. You can leave us a review and rate us on Spotify, iTunes. You can call us or text us at 530-MATERIA. And you can find us at EveryFNFF on Twitter, Instagram, and hop in our Discord. And being alone's all right, I guess. Yep. Always was until we met. But then we did. And now I know there's something better. Podcasting with you.
Dun, 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 dun.
I almost said worst podcast ever, but Muttski's here, so I feel like that would be rude.